I can see what they're doing, what he's doing. I can see it, I feel it. He's cooking.
Well, thank you very much. We've had some very, really good talks today on Gaza.
My bad, guys. My bad. I was pretty much saying we're going to go ahead and get into Trump's TikTok executive order. And, you know, hopefully we walk away with this feeling, right?
I can see what they're doing, what he's doing. I can see it, I feel it. He's cooking.
And not this one.
That shit is hard. Hey, bro, come on now, dog. Come on, man.
All right, let's get into it.
Both the Middle East representatives and kings and all of the top leaders in the Middle East. And we had also a very good conversation with Bibi Netanyahu, trying to get the hostages back. And we're trying to get the end of the Gaza situation. It's really bad, very bad. And we think it could happen. Maybe it could happen pretty soon. We want the hostages back. We want the bodies back. And we want to have peace in that region. So we had some very good talks. As you know, I had President Erdogan here, Turkey, and we had a great meeting today. I think we had a meeting that was very conclusive in so many different things that we wanted, things that he wanted, and that was good. We'll be announcing that sometime later. And he'll be making an announcement too. But we had a great meeting with Turkey and their very respected president, and spent time. We had lunch and we had a lot of good discussions. So those two things. And we have some executive orders today to sign that are.
And I'm going to take a guess here. I'm pretty sure he's pretty much talking to Turkey on being one of the countries who are going to take in the Palestinians. Well, or at least some of the Palestinians.
Very important for the country. And we'll start off with one that's a proclamation. And yes, want to do that, Will?
Yes, sir. So today is Gold Star Mothers and Families Day. This is an annual proclamation. This is to commemorate the fallen, those who have died for all of our freedoms and for our country, and for their families who have suffered such grievous losses. But this is a proclamation commemorating Gold Star Mothers and Gold Star families.
Yeah, and they're fantastic. Incredible people, what they've had to go through. Very few people could have gone through this kind of thing. Gold Star. Okay, thank you very much. I'll put it over here, Steve.
Next, sir, we have an executive order on TikTok. From the first days of your administration, you've charged a team from your administration led by Vice President Vance with ensuring that we can preserve TikTok as a platform for the 170 million Americans who use it, while ensuring that their data is properly protected as required by law. With this executive order, you will be effectively bringing into effect the agreement that will save TikTok and ensure that it can operate safely and securely.
So this is interesting because
and hopefully we can kind of take away the fact that China is kind of getting all of our information, and maybe we can work on some of the censorship on there. Okay, actually, honestly, there might actually be more censorship on there. You never know. But shout out my man Maine. He says Turkey sounds good, similar values. I mean, yeah, low key Muslim country.
A very good talk with President Xi. A lot of respect for him. Hopefully he has a lot of respect for me too. And we talked about TikTok and other things, but we talked about TikTok, and he gave us the go ahead. You know, it's run by American investors, American companies, great ones, great investors, the biggest. You don't get bigger, I don't imagine. And maybe I'll have JD. JD was very much involved and in charge of it. And maybe I'll have you say a few words about the deal. He would report back, and the points of the deal, I think, are great for our country. So JD, do you want to give it a little talk, please?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So thank you, sir, for your leadership and for your help. We really couldn't have done this without the president actually ushering this deal over the finish line. There was some resistance on the Chinese side, but the fundamental thing that we wanted to accomplish is that we wanted to keep TikTok operating, but we also wanted to make sure that we protected Americans' data privacy as required by law, both because it's the right thing to do, but also because it's a legal requirement of the law that was passed last year by Congress. So we think that we were able to do that. Of course, we're going to keep on working at it, but this deal really does mean that Americans can use TikTok, but actually use it with more confidence than they have in the past, because their data is going to be secure and it's not going to be used as a propaganda weapon against our fellow citizens. We're very excited about it. We appreciate the cooperation.
Not use as a propaganda weapon. I mean, but they're still going to sell your data, though. I mean, don't get it twisted. They're still going to do that.
Of everybody involved, and it's a big day.
And I think I can say that especially the young people, they really wanted this to happen. They did not want to have TikTok close. And I got, a little used to TikTok. I used it myself during the campaign, and it was very successful because you know how I did with the young voter. And Charlie helped me a lot too. And he said to me, you should go on TikTok. And it actually had, because we got record votes with the young voter, as you know, for the election. So I was a little bit prejudiced in that way toward TikTok. It was very good and very meaningful. But we have American investors taking it over, running it, highly sophisticated, including Larry Ellison. And Oracle, I guess, is going to play a very big role in terms of security, safety, and everything else. So we have very good controls. And literally, I would get a call from friends of mine who were fathers of young people say, could you do me a favor? Could you get it approved, please? My son is driving me crazy. So we're getting it done, and they have a big audience, and we have great American investors. And here's your final copy. TikTok. Maybe if you want, we could take a couple of questions on TikTok, and then we're going to get onto something completely different. Okay? Yeah.
Mr. President,
Jeff?
Mr. Vice President, you mentioned that China was resistant.
Oh, guys, let's make sure to double tap that screen, like the video, guys. Let's get more people in the conversation by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support, guys.
Can you describe where China is now? Are they fully on board with this?
They're
or
on
is
board.
there anything more?
I spoke with President Xi. We had a good talk. I told him what we were doing, and he said, go ahead with it.
On the algorithm, it's still being leased coming from China. Are you satisfied that there's no security concerns? For the
Yeah,
US
I
that
am.
it would
I really
push-
am.
It would push disruptive.
The biggest reason is that it's owned by Americans. It's, and very sophisticated Americans and people that love the country, and very smart Americans too. So they don't want anything like that to happen. Yes, please.
Thank you. Is there any operational relationship with Chinese entities or staff to execute the deal
With who?
with the Chinese?
I don't think so. Not that I know. No, this is going to be American operated all the way. And great respect for President Xi. And I very much appreciate that he approved the deal, because to get it done properly, we really needed the support of China and the approval of China. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. President, now that Americans will have operational control, do you want to see the algorithm suggest more MAGA-related content prioritized?
I always like MAGA related. If I could, I'd make it 100% MAGA related. It's actually a good question, but I would, yeah, if I could make it 100% MAGA, I would, but it's not going to work out that way, unfortunately. No, everyone's going to be treated fairly. Every group, every philosophy, every policy will be treated very fairly. Thank you.
Mr. President, you know that.
So no, they're not going to start down throttling the engagement of left-wing content, which is, I mean, that's fair. Like I said, fair is fair. If you're entertaining, you're entertaining, no matter what message you're preaching.
The valuation, the American company's going to be valued in billions.
Well, they valued it very highly. They're paying a big number. Do you want to talk, Scott? Do you want to say something about value?
Well, I'll let the Vice
Okay,
President, and then
JD?
I can follow
And
up.
you'll say something.
Sure. Well, first of all, I would say all credit goes to the Secretary of the Treasury. Couldn't have got it done without Scott. Also couldn't have got it done without Sean Cooksey on my team. So thanks to them. The company will be valued around $14 billion. We actually think this is a good deal for investors, but ultimately the investors are going to make the determination about what they want to invest in and what they think is proper value. The most important thing is that it does protect Americans' data security. It ensures TikTok is still accessible. And on this question of the algorithm, which we've heard this a lot, what this deal ensures is that the American entity and the American investors will actually control the algorithm. We don't want this used as a propaganda tool by any foreign government. We want to make sure that our people and our investors actually make these decisions based on what's good for their business.
American investors controlling the algorithm. I'm sorry, but what do you mean by that?
As opposed to what's good for another government's propaganda arm. So that's what we've done with this deal. I think it's very good for the American people. And as the president said, young people love this. We actually want everybody to access this, whether they're MAGA or not. We just want it to be fair. We want it to be fair to everybody. And we think that's what's going to happen with this new arrangement.
Well, the U.S. government.
And just to follow up on the vice president, there were two pieces to the transaction. The vice president's office has worked since the spring for the commercial transaction between the investor groups, and then Treasury and a group including the vice president's office were in Madrid 2 weeks ago to negotiate with the Chinese. And it was a result of President Trump's close relationship with Party Chair Xi that we were able to get this across the line. We created a framework for Party Chair Xi to agree. And then on the leaders' call, Xi and President Trump discussed the final arrangement. So it was 1-2. And that was the final piece.
Will the U.S. government get any kind of annual payment as a result of this deal?
Taxes. It's going to make money, and we're going to get a lot of money in taxes. And China wanted to see this go. It's a great legacy for China too.
And to be honest, due to TikTok's amazing affiliate market program, yeah, a lot of businesses and a lot of small businesses will make money on TikTok. The content creators as well. So imagine that if we'd have got TikTok taken out, we'd have taken out one of the biggest affiliate marketing platforms, and also a lot of young people in a lot of young people in America would have been out of a job, or I guess out of a profession, which is content creation, I guess. All right, guys, let's get back to it, and let's not forget to double tap that screen.
I thought President Xi was great in terms of his approval. We probably could have done it a different way, but it wouldn't have been the same. Wouldn't have been the same security at all. But I appreciated that he approved it.
So that's aside from taxes. There's no part of the deal that is like a payment to the U.S. government.
Well, we're going to be announcing different things, but the U.S. comes out great, and I think China comes out great because they're going to have a very important legacy, and they have many other deals. They have deals with us, and they have deals in here in this country. And, they want to be treated fairly also.
So, Mr. President and Mr. Vice President, the U.S. company could change the algorithm to push different content? Is that?
The U.S. company will have control over how the algorithm pushes content to users. And that was a very important part of it. We thought it was necessary for the national security element of the law. We also just think it's important to protect American users. Again, we want users to use this platform the way they want to. We want the business to make decisions about content based on the interests of the business and based on the interests of the users. And that's what we think will happen with this new arrangement.
And they're paying a lot of money. And I think hopefully it's going to be a great deal. They're very sophisticated people. You'll see a list. Have you seen a list yet of the people? Well, you've been reading about it. I know Michael Dell's involved, and Rupert Murdoch's involved, and a lot of, and let's see, we have probably 4 or 5 absolutely world-class investors that love the country. They made a lot of money with the country, and many of them are in a somewhat related business, so it works out pretty well. And they're going to be very careful about all of these questions that you've been asking.
Who else beyond Dell and Murdoch?
Well, it's a blue chip group of investors, and we'll be announcing more about who exactly is involved in the deal in the days to come.
Oracle's playing a very big part.
That's right, sir.
And Oracle really understands this. And I think they're actually, and they've been involved for quite a while running it for the previous people. And so it's really, I think it's going to be very well protected. Very, very prestigious deal, actually.
On that point, Mr. President, as the president said, Oracle has actually had a role in housing the data for a long time, even when the entity was controlled by the ByteDance organization in China. So Oracle had a pretty interesting perspective on what was necessary to actually create true data privacy protections for Americans. They were a very important part of getting this thing done.
Mr. President, you told us a couple of weeks ago you thought that the security concerns were overrated, but were there legitimate concerns when it comes to safety?
From my standpoint, no, because the people that own it are, they're not China-centric, they're USA-centric, and they're very smart people. I guess you could say it about everything. Everything is what's secure nowadays. Things that you think are totally secure turn out to not to be. But I think in this case, it's going to be as secure as you can be because of the ownership and the people. And they have a big investment. It's to their advantage to make sure it's good and safe. Yeah. Anybody else? Do you have a question? No, behind you.
Well, I just want to say, do you think this move and getting this deal done, Mr. President, do you think this honors the legacy, like Charlie Kirk mentioned, that he specifically pushed you to get involved with TikTok in your campaign and helped you win no further. So do you think this deal honors him?
Well, I think it's a good thing. It's a good sign. We're doing very well, as you know, with the trade deals. We're doing very well with China and a lot of them. We were never treated properly. We were for 4 years, actually, but we were never treated very properly by other countries. And we're doing well. We've never done this well. We have, because of the tariffs that are coming in, the deals that are being made, $950 billion in one case, $950 billion, where previously they paid nothing. We have, as you know, in Japan, it's $550 billion. South Korea is $350 billion now. That's up front.
Yep.
And one of the things I can
and most of these are investment in American energy. Yeah, a lot of these trade deals involved either one, a earth minerals deal worked in, like with the Congo and all that good stuff, and then there's also the one that we kind of just work out a way where they start buying American energy. This is kind of feeds into Trump's whole drill baby drill initiative. It's kind of why he's trying to stick over here to the crude oils and once again try to, I guess, reinvigorate American mining or restart.
I announced it lightly before, but we're taking in tremendous amounts of money with tariffs. We've never seen anything like it. No country's ever seen anything like it. I'm going to devote a little bit of that money, a little bit of the tariff money to our farmers. Our farmers have been incredible. They're the ones that let us survive and eat and enjoy our lives, right? Eat too much, maybe in some cases, like mine. But I will tell you, we're going to take some of the tariff money, relatively small amount, but a lot for the farmers. And we're going to help the farmers out a little bit because during this transition period, a period where we're taking in incredible amounts of money, we'll have a little bit of a shortfall with the farmers until the tariffs kick in because they haven't kicked in for the farmers yet. And I decided before, and I spoke to all of the people here, that I want to make a contribution out of the tariff money, a small percentage of it, but it's a lot for the farmers. It will make the farmers feel very good, just help them through the transition. Yep. And ultimately, they're going to be making a fortune.
So pretty much the same strategy he used, back in his first term with the China tariffs. He used China tariffs to honestly, subsidize American farmers. And now he's pretty much doing the same strategy, except it's not just coming from China.
They will be one of the top in the whole world in terms of percentage gotten from the tariffs we're taking in. But we have so much coming in, it's a very small thing. But I want to, in fact, just get the word out to the farmer because they'll be struggling until the transitions.
Oh, God, let's not forget to double tap that screen and like the video. Let's get more people in on the conversation by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support, guys.
Complete that. After that, they're going to do, I think, better than they've ever done before. Last time I said, get yourself a larger tractor and more land. And that was when they were doing very poorly. And they ended up doing that, and they did very well. That was with the deal we made with China. Unfortunately, Biden forgot about the deal, and he never enforced. I enforced it till the end, and China was very honorable. But when Biden came in, he didn't enforce it. So when you don't enforce a deal, they don't do it. So it's terrible. Biden was very bad to the farmers of our country. So we're going to be doing that. It's an honor to do it, too. Brian, did you have a question?
And shout out to Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, I love the name. He says, middle-aged white liberal women ruined America. I mean, you know what? I've never heard such a truer statement in a $2 super chat. Middle-aged white liberal women ruined America. Yeah.
So I say, what's your
no offense, white women, no offense.
message to the millions of small businesses here in the U.S. that really rely on TikTok to reach their end user, to market their service and their product?
Well, thank you for that question because honestly, we were getting hit up. They use it for virtual advertising and they pay very little for it and nothing for it. And small businesses have become very successful because of TikTok. And we didn't think of that, when everyone's saying, oh, TikTok and this and that. But over the last 6 months, I was called by so many people saying they're going to go out of business if they can, because they use it virtually as a advertising tool. And without it, they wouldn't have anything. They wouldn't be able to get the word out about their good product or whatever it is they're selling. So it's a very important thing for small business. It's another reason I wanted to do the deal so badly. So let's go to another subject now, if we might, okay? And Will, please. Yes, go ahead.
What does that look like? Is that going to be direct checks to farmers? Or is it
well, we haven't decided that. We'll be dealing with Brooke later.
I wonder if they're going to talk about that 100% tariff on pharmaceuticals. That's kind of pretty much force pharmaceutical companies to come over here, or unless they want to face that 100% tariff. It's pretty much the same thing he did with chips and semiconductors, which is honestly a smart move if you want to bring manufacturing of those products into America. It's a pretty smart move.
And the Secretary of Agriculture.
What to do with that?
We'll figure out how to get money to the farmers. And again, this comes out of the large amount, hundreds of billions of dollars of tariff money that's pouring into the country. The tariffs, remember when I said a long time ago, I said it's the greatest word, it's my favorite word in the world. Then I had to say, I was forced to say other things, and of course, rightfully so. Love, family, religion. So I think I put tariff number 5. I was forced because the fake news did a big number on me. It's one of those little, but let's say it's my 5th favorite word tariff, but it's making our country very rich. And when our country is rich, I'm able to help the farmers, and I'm able to help even other countries that are in trouble, but we're able to help people that are in trouble. Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, it's all a benefit of this tremendous amount. And I heard numbers coming in today, Scott, where the numbers were very high, right?
The economic numbers were off the charts, sir.
Unfortunately, right? Because this is the only country in the world where you announce great numbers and the stock market goes down. Because when you announce great numbers, they immediately want to take that success away by raising the interest rates. Why can't you announce great numbers and let them lower the interest rate so you can make numbers? This is the only country in the world. I don't know if you heard. Could you just tell them what the number was? And how
it was 3.88% growth. The biggest in years. And the important thing, as the president says, this is going to be non-inflationary growth, just like it was in its first term. So strong.
Yeah, and the great thing is the Fed predicted a 1.8% growth in the economy, but well, we hit that 3%. So I mean, shout out Trump once again, or whatever Besson doing is working. Or it could be the tariffs. I doubt it just the tariffs alone, but hey, let's hear Besson out.
Growth, low inflationary years. And the important thing, as the president says, this is going to be non-inflationary growth, just like it was in its first term. So strong growth, low inflation, real wage gains. And to the question on small business optimism under President Trump last week hit a multi-year high. So small businesses, Main Street is back under President Trump.
But isn't it crazy? So I saw the market was down a little bit today. I mean, in all fairness, I don't feel guilty because we've set every record you can imagine. But it was down, and I say, oh, the numbers must be good. Meaning the growth numbers are phenomenal. And again, this is during, but a little bit of the heavy, the really success and the money pouring into our country through the tariffs. And I just say, why can't we have great numbers and lower the interest rates so we have even greater numbers? So people were saying, oh, the numbers are so good, they're going to have to raise interest rates. That doesn't have to happen. And there's no inflation. We have the only thing we have is great success. We're having unbelievable success. So the numbers are much higher than anticipated, except for by me and Scott and some of the other people. And they'll get a lot higher than that too. But I don't want to, every time we have good numbers, say, let's take all the juice out by raising interest rates. It's so backwards.
Mr. President, they don't appreciate the importance of the third leg of your stool, because trade, taxes, and deregulation allows for significant upside growth without inflation. So eventually the people at the Fed will be able to focus on this like Alan Greenspan did in the 90s. You can have strong growth and low inflation. And I think we can get the stock market up, Wall Street, Main Street, both doing well.
And we want low interest rates. There's no reason that every time we announce these record numbers, these numbers are way above projections by, all the great geniuses out there. I knew this was going to happen. So they had 71 different people and only 2 got it right. Me and another gentleman from, I think, my wonderful Wharton School of Finance, actually. So anyway, but
No.
I really want you to look at that.
And shout out to my man Hell Betty said, did you see a picture of the auto pen on Prez wall? I did not. He actually got it up there. That's wild.
Time we
Petty.
have good numbers.
Wildly petty.
They say this is a good time because they're guarding against inflation that may happen in 2 years from now. We have to change. We have to change our thinking. We should be rewarded for good numbers, not penalized.
So, Mr. President, is that 3.8? Is that the start of a 3%?
Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that, a rate cut's going to be, the fix all to whatever problems we got going on. Like, it will promote investment. Like, that's undeniable. But it's not the fix all that, Trump is selling it to be. But I honestly will admit, though, the fact that we have the Federal Reserve, and I always say abolish the Federal Reserve, is because, they honestly are too late. They made the wrong call in not cutting it last time. Just to wait for the job numbers to come out is not good. Just to wait for inflation just to go up about, 0.2%. It's not at 3% yet. We haven't crossed that 3%, and hopefully we don't. And I'll let you know when we will, but we haven't yet. So, yeah, I do believe Powell have made the wrong call. And honestly, Trump is going to take the brunt of it, to be quite honest with you.
Well, the number was projected at 2 because we're in a little bit of a transition period, but that transition period's ending faster than we thought on tariffs. The money coming in is much greater than people thought, and there's no inflation, essentially. There's no inflation. We just went through the worst inflation in the history of our country under Sleepy Joe Biden. He was sleeping. And the inflation was really bad, worst ever. They say 48 years. I'll take that too. But
I will admit this: we are outside the realm of a recession since we've seen 3% growth in GDP. So we're outside of a recession. We're far from that. So we are. The economy, it's in the green right now. It is in the green. There are some concerning factors, of course. But right now, it's in the green. And if things work out with the tariffs and the jobs coming back to America within about 1 to 2 years, we could have a boom.
I think it was probably the worst inflation we ever had because of spending and energy going through the roof and everything else. By the way, energy is way down. And you're going to really be impressed when you hear what happened today with President Erdogan of Turkey. I think it's great for both countries. I think it's great. We have great relationships with a lot of countries. And you may be even more happy when you find out because we spoke with Bibi Netanyahu today, and we spoke to all the leaders in the Middle East who are great people. And
like I said, I do believe he was talking to Turkey to, see if they'll take in some of the Palestinians. And, here's the thing, it's so funny when it comes to Trump's tariffs and they're talking about, it being passed on to the people. when you look at the consumer price index, by what? 0.3% of the tariff is being passed down to the American consumer because that's all it's went up by. So, I would like to ask you guys on, it's a straight tax on the consumer. All right, well, how much of it? What? 1%, 0.3%? Come on now. Out of a 10, 20% tariff that you guys are freaking out about?
We're getting pretty close to having a deal on Gaza and maybe even peace.
Was Buy American made?
Which would be the first time in about, 2,000 years, I think. In the region, I'd say the first, Steve, what would you say? First in 2,000 years or maybe 1,000?
2 millennium.
It's a long time. Yeah, go ahead.
Did Erdogan agree to stop buying Russian oil?
I don't want to say that, but if I want him to, he will. Yeah.
But he didn't take that assurance.
Well, I didn't say, okay, you stop, but I believe you. I believe he will stop it. Yeah.
Did you make a deal?
You know why? Because he can buy from a lot of other people. He can buy from a lot of other people. You know who really can't is Hungary. Hungary's got, they're landlocked and they don't have a nice ocean where ships can sail in from all over the world. They have one pipeline coming. Because I spoke with, he's a great guy, he's a great friend of mine, but that's a harder one for that. And Slovakia too. They're sort of married to one pipeline. So I just don't want to have people go blaming them when, we spoke to them at length today, and it seems like that, for them it's a little, but that's Turkey has a lot of options. He's a great president, a very smart man, and He's going to take. He's going to do what's right. But we had a very good conversation having to do with the purchase of military equipment, etc. Any other
Would you
questions?
make a deal on F-35s, Mr. President?
I will be able to easily if I want. So we may do that. Yeah.
But not yet.
Well, it depends. He's going to do something for us. Yeah, please.
The U.S. can have sanctions on Turkey.
Can I ask you, we're a few days away.
By the way, here we go with this guy.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Let's go. Let's hear the
We're a few
question.
days away from the end of the fiscal year and a potential shutdown.
Right.
They're going to be a government shutdown?
Could be. Yeah, because the Democrats.
Yeah, I mean, we're 4 days away, and the Democrats, well, they're still grandstanding, so we'll see where that goes. But yeah, we are 4 days away from a potential government shutdown. I know, right? It's kind of one of those moments where it's like, come on, guys. Can y'all just figure y'all shit out? Like,
That shit is hard. Hey, bro, come on now, dog. Come on, man.
like come together for the one time. The one time.
Potential shutdown.
Right.
They're going to be a government shutdown?
Could be. Yeah, because the Democrats are crazed. They don't know what they're doing. They want to have the border opened up so that criminals can pour in. You know, we're doing unbelievable border.
Honestly, I heard they just wanted to add like what $1 trillion to what was it, Medicaid? So they pretty much just wanted to slap Trump in the face for like, all right, well, you want to take that $930 billion over 10 years? Great. Well, we want to add $1 trillion over 10 years. It was just one of those moments where you're just looking at them like, are you serious?
Closed and people are coming into our country legally. They continue to want to have men and women's sports. They continue to want to have transgender for everyone. They want to raise everybody's taxes at a number that's not sustainable. It's the only time in the world I've ever.
And shout out to my man Hellbat. He says, by the way, reports are on the rise about Tylenol-based poisoning in hospitals. I guess since Trump didn't recommend it, they decided to ignore their Harvard bullshit. I mean, bro, here's a problem. A very sad story happened. Like, oh, bro, a lady literally like ended her life and her child's life because she wanted to spite Trump. Women have poisoned themselves because they wanted to spite Trump. Like, TDS is now officially a mental illness at this point. Like, it's a mental illness because if you're willing to spite Trump to the point where you're willing to put yourself in a hospital and take a whole bunch of Tylenol, which taking a bunch of pain medicine was never a good idea. But of course, Trump says, oh, don't take this one. And now you just want to be like, oh, well, watch me take 36 of them. Like, oh my goodness.
I've seen a party that wants to raise taxes. You know, I grew up in a family where I'd watch politics and I always liked it from the time I was very young, but I'd always see politicians say, we will lower your taxes. These guys, they campaign on raising your taxes, but they want to raise taxes very substantially.
The one thing they're concerned about, I mean, look, Republicans have total control of Washington.
And shout out to Anonymous. He says, conspiracy hour. Hope it's good if we make it. Hey, man, don't worry. I got you with a good one if we do.
There's a control the House, the Senate, there's you.
Well, when you say control, so we need 60 votes for this, and we have 53 Republicans, so we need 7 Democrats.
And those 7 Democrats and others are asking for an extension of the tax credit on people who get the Affordable Care Act and some other government-backed health care. So are you willing to negotiate?
Well, what they're really asking for is they want to pay for illegal aliens that have come into our country by the millions and get onto the rolls, and they want to pay. And our people don't want to do that. Our people are taxed enough. You know, we just approved the largest tax decrease ever in the history of our country, including the extension of the previous Trump tax cuts. The tax cuts that we just approved, they want to use those tax cuts to give the money to illegal aliens, people that came into our country illegally and that are leaving the country.
So why not
there's been a self-deportation because of what we've been doing that's been incredible. Okay, yeah, please.
Secretary Nixon is inviting military leaders from all around the country on Tuesday. Will you also be there?
From all around the country to what?
To
Virginia.
He's inviting the generals and admirals to Virginia for a big meeting. They're not sure why.
Well, I know, I love it. I mean, I think it's great. Let them be friendly. Let them be friendly with the generals and admirals from all over the world. Why is there something? No, but is there something?
And shout out to my man Maine. He says Tylenol delusions. I mean, yeah, low key. And now who's in a cult? I mean, who's in a cult now, bitch? I mean, that's fair to say at this point. I mean, if it like literally if Trump's speech on or his announcement on Tylenol like really made you guys want to go just start taking Tylenol while you're pregnant, like women, like come on now, that's doing way too much. Like you come pump the brakes a little bit.
Nothing wrong with it.
What is it about? Will you be there personally as well? And what is it about?
Well, I'll be there if they want me, but why is that such a big deal? I mean, the fact that we're getting along with the generals and admirals from all, remember, I'm the president of peace. It's good to get along. It's good. You act like this is a bad thing. Isn't it nice that people are coming from all over the world to be with us?
It's not particularly unusual that generals who report to the Secretary of War and then to the President of the United States are coming to speak with the Secretary of War. It's actually not unusual at all, and I think it's odd that you guys have made it into such a big story.
Is it a big story?
I don't think it is, sir.
I would think it's, no, but isn't it a good story? I mean, we're respected from all over the world as a military force. I rebuilt the military during my first term, and even though we gave a chunk of it away to Afghanistan. But we're talking Afghanistan too, by the way, about Bagram and about that. But that's a very small amount compared to what we rebuilt it by. But I rebuilt the military, and we're very respected. We have the strongest military anywhere in the world without question. We have the greatest equipment in the world. We're selling the equipment to other countries, and a lot of generals want to be here and they want to look at they're also going to be touring equipment sites. They're going to be talking about the newest weapons, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it's great when generals and top people want to come to the United States to be with our now called Secretary of War. Does everybody like the name? I do.
You said something really interesting this week about Ukraine, that you thought Ukraine could get back all the territory that Russia had taken.
Yeah, they have a shot at it because Russia.
What prompted you to change your thoughts on
Well,
that?
because I've been watching the way what Russia's been doing. I'm very dissatisfied with what Russia's doing and what President Putin is doing. I haven't liked it at all. He's killing people for no reason whatsoever. And they are.
And Russia's pretty much pun-fading everybody with their drones. And they're pretty much disturbing the weapons transfer into Ukraine because now all aircrafts and all transportation is stalled because everybody's afraid that, Russia might bomb them. But Russia's going like, no, we're not going to bomb you. Look, guys, chill out. We were just coming from bombing Ukraine. We just had to fly through your airspace. And we know it's wrong. We know it's wrong. But chill out. I know. It's like the audacity of Russia.
They're doing very poorly considering they have put it all out on the line. Their economy is going to hell. They're bombing the hell out of everything, and they're picking up a very little territory, if any. In fact, they're losing some territory. So I think it's been very bad for the reputation of Russia. This war should have been over. If this were our war, we would have had it over in 1 week.
But the main reason Russia's doing this is to stop weapons transfers into Ukraine because now everybody's scared. Like I said, that Russian drones might bomb them, and here's the thing: they're just flying around. And here's also the other thing. I mean, different parties in Russia are denying it. One's claiming that they're just flying through. Either way, I mean, if they're Russian drones at this point,
they're getting into fourth year, Jeff. They're getting into the fourth year now. 4 year of fighting, and you see what they've taken. Now, the last month, they've taken very little, and you've been reporting on all the bombing, all the drones all over the place, 900 drones coming into certain areas like Kiev and one night. And with all of that work, they've taken over very little. So now I'm very disappointed in President Putin. I thought I solved 7 wars. In fact, we have a great leader coming, the Prime Minister of Pakistan coming, and the Field Marshal.
I don't know if that's the best taunt to throw at Putin. Like, you're pretty much saying, hey, man, look, I guess you can't hit that hard. I guess your army isn't all that good. I guess you're a paper tiger. And then next day, Putin just comes out with hypersonic missiles and all types of stuff. Like, you know what? I just don't want to, I don't know, poke the Russian bear.
Pakistan Field Marshal is a very great guy, and so is the Prime Minister, both. And they're coming, and they may be in this room right now. I don't know, because we're late. And I said maybe they'd like to join they actually may be somewhere in the beautiful Oval Office. Yeah, please, behind you.
Did you promise leaders this week that you would not allow Israel to annex the West Bank? Is that something that you
I will not allow Israel to annex the West Bank. No, I will not allow it. It's not going to happen.
Did you speak with Netanyahu about this?
Yeah, but I'm not going to allow it. Whether
Really?
I spoke to him.
Whoa. No, Trump, really? Please, hold on.
I will not allow Israel to annex the West Bank. No, I will not allow it.
I mean,
I can see what they're doing, what he's doing. I can see it, I feel it. He's cooking.
let's go. He knows. Because they are definitely doing that atrocity in the West Bank, and they are kicking Palestinians out of there, and there is no Hamas in the West Bank, so there's no excuse to be doing that to Palestinians there, and it's finally been recognized. Like, God damn it, the Israeli settlers have been exposed. Like, man.
It's not going to happen.
Did you speak with Netanyahu about this?
Yeah, but I'm not going to allow it. Whether I spoke to him or not, I did. But I'm not allowing Israel to annex the West Bank. There's been enough. It's time to stop now.
Let's go.
Yes, please.
Jasmine Crockett recently.
Jasmine Crockett. Remember what I said? Is she a relation to the late, great Davy Crockett? I don't think so. Jasmine Crockett, let me tell you, before you even ask, she's a very low IQ person. I mean, if we ever had to pass an aptitude test, that's the one should take one because she shouldn't even be in the. So I have no idea what you're going to, but I don't think we should waste our time. This is a low IQ person who I can't even believe is a congressperson. Between her and Ilman Omar and the group. You know, I met the head of Somalia. Did you know that? And I suggested that maybe he'd like to take her back. And he didn't want her. He said, I don't want her. Okay, what else? You want? Let's hear what Crockett said.
Compared ICE raids to slave patrol. I want to ask you.
To slave
patrol. I want to ask you if you think that there should be consequences for members of Congress.
Nah, trust me, I don't think any Muslim country want any Muslims that came over here. Why? Well, they're Americanized now, believe it or not. Yes, there's such thing as Americanized Muslims.
Make these types of comparisons.
Yeah. Well, I think
not all of them are
over
radicals.
the line, and I think a lot of the people look. The Democrats have become radical left lunatics. They have policies that nobody's going to buy, and you know, I see what's going on in New York. We're going to have perhaps a communist mayor because it's split up. You know, if the people would get together and have one candidate, they'd have, I think, a pretty good chance. But it looks like maybe they're not going to do that. But we're going to end up with a communist mayor. It's not even believable, my beautiful New York. When I left New York to become president, it was a great place. But it was the beginning of bad things because we had de Blasio had just started as mayor. And I said, this guy's this guy's a real nut job. Went to Harvard to teach management. Can you believe it? He went to Harvard to teach city management along with the mayor of Chicago, who went to Harvard to teach. The two of them are teaching how to manage a city into management.
Wow, went to Harvard for city management and then completely effed up Chicago is crazy. I mean, and you went to Harvard for it. And who'd have knew? I mean, who'd have knew you can go to Harvard for, I don't know, learning how to run a city? Damn, I mean, shit. I mean, that doesn't help Harvard at all. If I was Harvard, I would honestly like send them a letter like, I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, you can't claim us no more. As the mayor of New York, you can no longer claim your Harvard degree that it came from here because, well, look at your numbers, my friend.
Manage it into hell is what they do. But that was the beginning, and now we're going to go a step further. Now we're going with the communists. Can I be honest? I think it's the greatest thing to ever happen to the Republican Party. I really do. I think if a communist takes over New York City, I think that's a gift to the Republican Party. It's sad for New York, but it's a gift. And New York will recover because, you know, sometimes you need a shock like that to straighten you out. But it's politically, it's probably a very good thing.
Mr. President, immigration, crime, and the World Cup. Actually, so
that's a lot of
you have a number of cities that are pushing back against your immigration deportation move as well as your crime initiatives. Some of those cities,
I don't think they're very much pushing.
Some of those cities have World Cup games. Yeah. Seattle, San Francisco.
They're going to be very secure.
But could those games move if they don't cooperate with your crime?
Well, that's an interesting, I guess, but we're going to make sure they're safe. They're run by radical left lunatics and that don't know what they're doing. Look at Washington, D.C. I just got numbers. There's like no crime in Washington, D.C. You, Jeff, will not be mugged walking down the street. You can walk down the street with your family. You can walk down your street with your wife, your daughter, your son, and you're not going to be. We took out 1,700 career criminals that we're not allowing back. And we have this city in great shape. You know, there was a time when not long ago, when every single week you'd have at least one murder. And look what's happening with Washington. It's safe. I went to dinner in Washington just to prove a point. I gave a press conference in the middle of a street. I wouldn't say Secret Service was thrilled, but I did it. And here I am. Look, Washington, D.C. is such a great example of what can be done. We did it in 12 days. We made it very safe in 12 days, and now it's much safer than that. One other thing, I drove around Washington over the weekend, and I said, look at the difference. The grass looked great. Everything looked great. You know, we had a lot of our National Guard, and we didn't ask them to do it. They did it themselves. They're proud. They're great. And
I would ask other high crime cities, you know, to test it out. Why not bring in the National Guard, clean up crime, and then have the National Guard clean up the streets? I mean, it's not a terrible use of our taxpayer dollars, let's be honest. And it does seem to be effective in DC. Why not try it out in other areas like Trump is also about to do? Why wait for him to ask you guys to fix crime? I mean, you try to throw money into the police departments. That doesn't work. I mean, you try to hire more. That doesn't work. So maybe y'all might want to try something different. You know, think outside the box.
We're picking up paper. They were cleaning. The place looked really beautiful. So we have a great Washington, D.C. We, as you probably know, we're going into Memphis and we're going into some other cities. And very soon we're going to go into Chicago. It will be safe for the World Cup. If I think it isn't safe, we'll move it into a different city. Absolutely. We'll take the world. If I think it's not, it's actually a very fair question. If I think it's not safe, we're going to move it out of that city. If like the governor of Illinois, who is, you know, look, last week, between last week and the week before, 11 murders and 38 people were shot.
And shout out Hellbat, he said they don't do it because they are pro-crime. Obviously, I know, right? You would hope they want better for their people, but I guess not. I guess fighting Trump is more important than, you know, protecting your people from crime, or at least having as much crime prevention as possible.
Then he gets up and says, this is a very safe. And then he says crime is better. The reason crime is better is because Cash put about 5 months ago a whole team of FBI people there to get ready for when we go in. And they've lowered it a little bit, you know, like 20, 25%, which isn't good enough, but it's a good start. But that was only put there because they're preparing for us to go in. And they've done, by the way, they've done a good job. So then Pritzker gets up, we've lowered crime 25. It's because the FBI was there. So no, if any city we think is going to be even a little bit dangerous for the World Cup or for the Olympics, you know, where they have Olympic overthrow, right? But for the World Cup in particular, because they're playing in so many cities, we won't allow it to go to, we'll move it around a little bit. But I hope that's not going to happen. Yeah.
Mr. President, Rhetoric this morning indicated that the shooter in Dallas had been using an app to track ICE. Does your administration have any plans to take down those apps or get them removed?
Well, I can't tell you about that, but it tells you when they want to wear masks or they want to hide a little bit, why that's so important. But these are great patriots, the ICE, and what a tough job they have. What an unbelievably tough job.
Yeah, apparently some young man tried to shoot ICE agents, but I mean, wild twist of fate. I mean, karma's a bitch, but he ended up shooting the very people I guess he was trying to protect. Yes, instead of shooting the ICE agents, he ended up killing the illegals in the back. Yeah, I know, right? Like, crazy turn of events. But I mean, I am actually sad that those two illegals got killed because, like, one, they didn't deserve that, like, and two, we just wanted to deport them. We don't want to see them dead. Like, I don't want to see nobody die. Like, we just wanted to deport you guys. Like, you guys dying in the process of that is terrible. But it's not because of us. It wasn't because of ICE that he died. It was because of some left-wing radical who says, hey, no, ICE is the Gestapo, they're terrorists. And you know what? I wonder where he got that from. I'm just saying, like, I wonder where.
They have. And think of it, what are they doing? They're taking hardcore criminals out of our country and putting them back. These were largely criminals that were given to us by Joe Biden and his group of radical maniacs that surrounded this desk, just like these people surround the desk now, but they're not maniacs. They're very solid people.
Thank you, sir.
I'm glad I prefaced. But they're great. We have a great cabinet. We have great people. And he didn't have great people. He had terrible people. Look at Afghanistan. Look at the people he had running our military. That could happen. The most embarrassing day in the history of our country was Afghanistan. And 13 young people died. They don't ever talk about the 38 that were horribly wounded with legs and arms and everything else, really horribly wounded. So the country's respected like it's probably almost never been respected before. I think we're respected at a level. And a year ago, it was a dead country. We had a dead country a year ago. This country was dying. It was really in bad shape. Let's talk about the next subject, can we?
One of the most powerful deterrents we have to violent crime is the death penalty. As you said, your administration has taken bold, decisive steps to ensure that Washington, D.C. is once again a safe and secure city for its residents and all who visit. This is a presidential memorandum that directs your Attorney General and your U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Judge Jeanine Pirro, to fully implement the death penalty here in Washington, D.C., where the evidence and facts of a case indicate that the death penalty should be used.
Okay, everybody understand? Death penalty in Washington. You kill somebody, or if you kill a police officer, law enforcement officer, death penalty. And hopefully there won't be that. So again, it's way down. I mean, we have had week after week after week where we haven't had a murder. I said that the other day in front of the president of Poland. The press was here, and I said, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to announce that Washington, D.C. has not had a death in 4 weeks, a murder. And he looked at me and goes, is that good or bad? You know, he said, what kind of a place is this? But it's true for years. I mean, every week, essentially, somebody got killed or more than one. And this is a very safe city right now. We don't play games. And, you know, it's interesting. We took these careers out, career criminals. They call them careers. They left the word criminal out. But we took the careers out of here. And they're now brought back to their homes, or they're in jail, or they're in a jail in another country. And hopefully they're not coming back. And we have to maintain it. You can't just leave, and we have to maintain it. We've gotten along fairly well with the mayor. You know, she's getting a party that hates that the city's becoming safe. I mean, they're actually criticizing her because the city's becoming safe. But this is becoming this is right now a very, very safe city. This went from the most unsafe city in the country to the safest city in the country. There's no city any safer. That's a pretty big achievement. And we really did it in 12 days. But if you add an extra week to it, that'd be nice. And I mean, you can go out to dinner. Restaurants are booming. You know, the restaurants were dead. They were dead. Even if you got to the restaurant, then somebody would come in and hold you up. You know, they'd hold up the whole restaurant. They go to Uber. Young ladies in the White House, they'd call Uber for protection. They'd run to the car because they were petrified to be from the entrance of their building to the car. Now they feel safe. They're in the car, and then the car gets hijacked while they're in the back of the car. This is what we were living in. We were living in hell. People that work in the White House, every time they see me, young women in particular, say, thank you, sir. And I don't even ask them about what. I know exactly. I made their lives. Now they're living in a beautiful, glamorous place called Washington, D.C. with no crime, and that's the way it should be, okay? This is the death penalty for somebody that kills people in Washington, D.C. I think it's capital. It's a very interesting capital punishment, capital city, right? It's capital. But this is our capital city. We can't.
I mean, dang, pretty much Washington, D.C. is a no-kill zone, no murder zone, which would be all of America, by the way. But, yeah, I mean, you commit a murder over there, and that's the automatic death penalty? I wonder how that's going to fly over. But, yeah, and here's the thing. I'm not against it, but, whoo, that is, damn, even I would say that's a harsh punishment.
Allow that to happen.
Life in jail, sure, but death?
Lincoln Memorial, and they end up getting killed. It doesn't happen anymore. It's not going to happen. And if it does happen, it's the death penalty for the person that did it. And this goes into effect. right? Pam, is that right? Could you speak a little bit about that?
Yes, sir. Not only are we seeking it in Washington, D.C., but all over the country again. And as you saw very recently, we are now moving the inmates who were on death row, who Joe Biden or the auto pen commuted their sentences off of death row. We're moving them to supermax facilities where they will be treated like they're on death row for the rest of their lives, President Trump.
Okay, that's a big statement. Thank you very much. Okay. I see some of you shaking your heads very positively. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, fellas.
You said on the campaign trail. that
I said it. Yeah.
The death penalty is anybody, legal who can kill a U.S.
That's
citizen or
right.
a police officer. So this just reinforces your campaign promise.
That's right. And most people really like it. And Washington, again, it's going to serve as a beacon because you have to do it. These are bad people. When you look at that guy, the guy that killed the young lady in the train in North Carolina, that he'll be in trial for years. He'll get a good lawyer somewhere along the line. Somebody will come along, and what he did to that young lady, and she went into that train scared. You know, when she went in, the way she sat down, she was scared to just be there. She just wanted to not pay any attention to anybody, just not be noticed. And she had her throat slit. We don't want that in this country anymore. We're not going to have it in this country anymore. Thank you very much. Next.
Lastly, sir, this is a presidential memorandum on countering domestic terrorism and organized political violence. In recent weeks, months, and years, we've seen a tremendous upsurge in some highly visible, but also other acts of domestic terrorism and organized political violence being perpetrated by radical, politically motivated groups all over the country. What this
and if I could speak quickly on the whole subway, well, honestly, yeah, that horrific subway stabbing, yeah, that was definitely a failure of the judicial system. I mean, the man was let out multiple times. He'd been in jail 14 times. Even the man's own mom said he is unfit to be outside of jail, but they just kept on letting this man out, and now it cost the young lady her life. It's sad, but I mean, hey, but guess where it happened in, guys? I mean, it was a liberal city. It was liberal judges. I mean, and here's the thing. I mean, some of these judges, I ain't gonna lie, their history and law is quite questionable.
Presidential memorandum will do is set off an administration-wide response to that.
That's all I'll say on
from
that.
Joint terrorism task forces to other components of the Department of Justice, to the Department of Homeland Security and Department of Treasury. We're looking at interdicting these groups, preventing them from performing acts of violence, and also looking at sources of organization and funding and support that prop them up and allow them to do the acts that they have been doing.
We're looking at the funders of a lot of these groups. And
you know, and Antifa, well, or the left will say Antifa's not organized, you know, even though they find a way to organize in public area, in uniform, in mass, and all that wild stuff. But, you know, they're not organized. Yeah, but they're not organized. And, you know, the left sticks that are not organized, but, you know, they got a website that you can look through. They got a mission statement. You know, it's a pretty convincing mission statement. Not really, but you get my point. I mean, they say they're not organized, but they got some organized characteristics there. I'm gonna be honest with you.
You know, when you see the signs, and they're all beautiful signs made professionally, these aren't your protesters that make the sign in their basement late in the evening because they really believe it. These are anarchists and agitators, professional anarchists and agitators, and they get hired by wealthy people, some of whom I know, I guess, you know, probably know them. And you wouldn't know it. You're at dinner with them, everything's nice, and then you find out that they funded millions of dollars to these lunatics. Steve, could you say a couple of words?
Yes, Mr. President. This is a very historic and significant day. This is the first time in American history that there is an all-of-government effort to dismantle left-wing terrorism, to dismantle Antifa, to dismantle the organizations that have been carrying out these acts of political violence and terrorism. What we have seen, if you look at whether it be going back to the riots that started with Black Lives Matter and all the way through to the Antifa riots, the attacks on ICE officers, the doxing campaigns, and now the political assassinations, these are not lone isolated events. This is part of an organized campaign.
Yeah, and that's the problem. They say these are lone isolated events caused by Antifa, but I guess they got a trans-Tifa now. But yeah, they're trying to say, oh, these are lone isolated events. These guys just suit up, say we're Antifa, and just pull up in uniform, organize, and, you know, go out there and agitate, you know, definitely use violence. So it is a bit strange. And here's the thing, Antifa's never been truly investigated. So guess what? I mean, we're about to find out now what's going on with these guys and if they're truly organized or not.
Campaign of radical left terrorism. It is structured, it is sophisticated, it is well funded, it is well planned. There is really no parallel like this to anything else in the country right now. There is an entire system of feeder organizations that provide money, resources, weapons, and when they're attacking ICE officers, they're attacking federal buildings, or they're isolating public officials for harassment, doxing, intimidation, and ultimately attempted assassination. It is all carefully planned, executed, and thought through. It is terrorism.
Yeah, and it's funny because sadly I've seen this coming. Think about it. It started off with everybody getting mad about ICE and saying it was unconstitutional and all that good stuff. And then once the Supreme Court green lights what Trump is doing or what ICE is doing, now the left can't really argue. So they really can't really get in the way through the courts. They can't do it no more. It's been taken away. So now these guys get mad and they start having this crazy rhetoric. They're Gestapo, they're terrorists, they're trying to take away your favorite illegal immigrant. I mean, all types of stuff. And that they act like they don't radicalize people. I know. I mean, and of course they call this always fascism. That's what ICE is and all this good stuff. And you don't think that's going to radicalize anybody. And the man who I believe the man who shot at the ICE agents and ended up killing the illegal. Well, I believe he's a white and Hispanic. Yes, white and Hispanic, biracial. And shout out to Luna. Appreciate the support, sis. Alex Jones mentioned Trans-Tifa. We're going global. Hey, appreciate that. And shout out. I know, right? We said Trans-Tifa. Now all of a sudden it's just going everywhere. Wait a minute. We do stream worldwide. This is a worldwide stream. Like only 55% of the people who watch my stream are in the US. The rest of you guys around the world. And shout out. Appreciate the support, guys.
On our soil, because of this executive order, Cash and Pam are going to have the tools they need working with Scott to take these organizations apart piece by piece. And the central hub of that effort is going to be the Joint Terrorism Task Force, or JTTF, which sits inside the Federal Bureau of Investigation. But for those at home who are worried about terrorism in this country, they need to understand because of President Trump's strength, because of his vision, because of his leadership, we are now going to use the entire force of the federal government to uproot these organizations root and branch. And again, that's only possible because of President Trump and his leadership.
Thank you. Steve Cash, please.
Yes, as Steve was saying, Mr. President, thanks to your leadership, crime is going downward in a tremendous fashion, and that's what we want for every city in America. And the FBI's premier flagship enterprise, the Joint Terrorism Task Force, are honored to lead this initiative with our partners at Treasury and Homeland Security, because our citizens are being attacked by, as Stephen said, organized violence, and it's being paid for, not by them, by other people. So what we are going to do, combining forces as Scott and I have done in these last few months, is follow the money. People and organizations have collected funds and put them out into the streets of America and organized violence across our country. And thanks to your recognition of this and this executive order and
so the accusation by the Trump administration that somebody is cutting a check for Trans-Tifa and, supplying them with whatever they need to go out there and, agitate protests, possibly, commit a little bit of violence, a little bit of assault. And then, they go back home and they see a check in their bank account. And, hopefully we can track these people down, look at those banks transactions and we can figure something out from there. Hopefully. And if not, then I guess they aren't, organized. And I guess they just go out of there out of the spirit of stopping anti-fascism. Or being anti-fascist. I'm sorry. Hey, that's possible. It's possible, but I doubt it.
AG's leadership to lead out and prosecute these individuals. We are properly going to chase them down like the domestic terrorists that they are, and our streets and our communities are going to be safer because the JTTF and the FBI and Treasury and DHS and DOJ are going to combine forces like never before to root out this new evil that is perpetrating our criminal activities across our societies. And we are just so thankful for your leadership and recognition of it. It's not easy to do.
Good job. Thank you very much,
Who
Pam.
specifically you want to?
What?
Besides Antifa, is there a specific group or person you're targeting with this?
Any organized group.
Any organized?
Any organized group who are committing these crimes, and we're working with the Secretary of Treasury. You know what law enforcement has told us under President Trump's leadership? He's taken the handcuffs off law enforcement. they can do their jobs now, thanks to you, President Trump, and that's what's happening. And all of these agencies that Cash mentioned, we work hand in hand together. Our prosecutors were following the money with Treasury. We're working with Homeland Security. Cash's agents, all of our agents, DEA, ATF, U.S. Marshals, combined are working and with state and local government to take these people off the streets who are jeopardizing lives.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if we can find a money trail and source it back to, I don't know, somebody like George Soros, maybe we can get some indictments going, like, maybe like a RICO case.
Hey, can I just illustrate this? So I was talking with Cash and Stephen about this a couple of days ago, sir. So I believe it was in Oregon where you had a federal building where there were men in black ski masks who were committing acts of violence, who were shutting down a government building. To the president's point, they don't come from nowhere. These are paid people. This is organized. They're committing acts of political terrorism on American soil. And it's time we had a government that looked out for the American people rather than the people who are committing violence against the American people.
When you go out to Portland and you see what's happening in Portland, this is like nobody's ever seen anything like it. Every night, and this has gone on for years. They just burn the place down, and the shop owners, most of them have left, but the few shops that are open, they just use plywood and just like 3/4-inch plywood. They don't put storefronts because they know it's going to be burned down. These are professional agitators.
Right.
These are bad people, and they're paid a lot of money by rich people, some of whom we know. I'm sure I know some. I don't. If I knew, I wouldn't associate because I'll be in trouble because Pam will say, "Why are you associating with this person?" But I will tell you that these are bad people, and they're paying a lot of money, millions of dollars. But take a look at Portland sometime. These are wild. These are crazy people, and they're trying to burn down buildings, including federal buildings. And on my list of things that I want to do before we finish up with the cities, because I think we're going to whip the cities back into shape, but we have to. We cannot let our cities, and that's a small example, but it's the most violent example. It's every night, and they've done it for years. You think maybe at some point they made their point, and what are they doing? But we're going to get out there, and we're going to do a pretty big number of those people in Portland that are doing that. They're professional agitators and anarchists. They're actually anarchists. Yeah. Go ahead. Why don't you defend? Let's see you defend them, Jeff.
I just want, so that we can just explain this in our stories.
You don't explain it right, though, Jeff. Go ahead. Let's go. Maybe let's give you another chance. Go ahead.
Antifa, Soros, what names are we talking about?
Well, Soros is a name certainly that I keep hearing. I don't know, but Soros is a name that I hear. I hear a lot of different names. I hear names of some pretty rich people that are radical left people.
Soros do fund a lot of, I'll say, protest groups through his open source foundation. So, yeah, I mean, we got to be honest. He can definitely be involved in this because he is known for, funding both sides of a protest. I mean, this man will fund the Palestinian side and the Israeli side of a protest. Actually, guess what? He's doing that right now. Yeah. Funding both sides. I mean, he's a complete villain. He's literally sit back there funding both sides. I mean, just literally being a complete villain, guys. So if I was to say something like this, that's just how I imagine it. But all right, guys, let's get back to it.
Maybe I hear about a guy named Reid Hoffman. Somebody's a pretty rich guy, I guess, and I hear about him. I don't know. Maybe could be him. Could be a lot of people. We hear the same names, but they're bad, and we're going to find out. And if they are funding these things, they're going to have some problems because they're agitators and they're anarchists. These are anarchists, really bad. Okay, yeah, please.
Mr. Can you comment on
Who you with? Who you with?
I'm with the Center Square, Sarah Roderick. Sarah, there's also, as you know, Antifa is not just a domestic terror or now a domestic terror organization. It's also international. I know the Netherlands is looking at also designating them a terror organization.
Right.
Have you been working with your intel community and your DNI to possibly expand that to making them designated
Yes,
an
we have.
international terror?
Yeah, we have been. Yep. It's an international. In many cases, it is international.
Mr.
Yeah.
Bennett, on Antifa, if someone takes to the streets of America and says they're Antifa, what happens to them? What will happen to them?
Well, I'd say the maximum under the law, and we'll see. Now, if they kill somebody, we just signed a death penalty, so it depends where it is. But if they kill somebody, which they do, I mean, people are dying. You go out to Portland, people die out there. many people have died over the years in Portland. Portland is, I don't know how anybody lives there. It's amazing. But it's anarchy out there. And that's what they want. They want anarchy. Like when they attacked Seattle and took over a big percentage of the city. I was going to go out and we were going to do a big number. They heard that and everybody broke up all of a sudden. But, you know, you have governors that have to run that, and a lot of them don't do that. I don't like to go in. I'd rather have Pritzker's support when we go into Chicago. But if we don't have it, that's okay too, because we're paramount and we will do what we have to do. We're going to make Chicago safe. We're going to make we're going to make as many as we can. And usually that involves a surge. But what we did with, in the case of Chicago, by having the FBI go out there 5 or 6 months ago, we brought it down a little bit. You know, a little bit is 25%, so it's not so little, but it is when you're talking about the kind of crime and killings and murders that you hear in Chicago. But we're going to get it. Chicago's a great city. As the Union Pacific said, the head of
the gang violence in Chicago just got out of hand due to it being a drug and arms route. It has all the drugs and guns flowing through it. I mean, especially in the hoods of Chicago. It kind of damn near makes it impossible for the police to handle. So, yeah. And here's the bad part. It's gotten so bad that it spills into the nice area. Like, let's see here. The murder of a FBG Duck. The man was killed over there in the, well, I'm going to be honest with you, in the one of the richest areas in Chicago where they're pretty much selling Prada and Gucci. Crime's not supposed to happen around there. That's why Prada and Gucci set up there.
Union Pacific was a great guy. Started off as a low-rung guy. He said he started at a caboose, and now he's the chairman of the Union Pacific. But he's a great guy. But he said, "Sir, don't lose Chicago." The way he said it, I said, "Boy, it really hit me." You know, here's a man that knows all the cities. The Union Pacific, I guess, is our largest railroad. And he knows all the cities. He's been doing it for 45 years. And he said, "Sir, don't lose Chicago."
Hey, and shout out to my man Bob. He's like, I don't have anything bright to say, but I hang out here to freeload enough. So here's a contribution. Hey, I appreciate it. You know, hey, we do disagree, but I definitely do appreciate you tuning in. And, you know, hey, we love the disagreements. What can I say, guys? We like to hear both sides out here. We like to have a free speech platform. Doesn't mean you can be insulting, but it does mean you can have opposing positions, of course.
And the way he said that meant a lot to me. And we're going to go into Chicago very soon. We're going to take care of Memphis. We're going to take care of Memphis. You can't walk a block without getting shot. We're going to take care of that one, and just like we did Washington, D.C. And we're gonna do Chicago very soon. Yeah.
There could be an indictment on James Comey. Do you know if there is an indictment?
I don't know. I know it's going on because I read the papers just like you do, right? So I don't know. Do you have anything to say about that?
Can you comment on New York Times? Madam Attorney General, can you comment on a New York Times report saying that Justice Department officials have asked attorneys to target a George Soros-funded group? And is this executive order that you just signed a part of that effort?
I'm not going to comment on whether there is or is not a pending investigation, but everything's on the table right now.
I don't think anybody has to ask, because if you look at Soros, he's at the top of every. In fact, sometimes I say, could he be involved in this many things? But he's in every story that I read. Stories that I read keep talking about Soros, and so I guess he'd be a likely candidate. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Now let's get over to let's talk about our guy, Comey, because Comey got indicted. So you know what that means? Possibly.
Going to jail. Lock his ass up. Lock his ass up. You're going to jail. You're going to jail.
Possibly, but let's get into it, guys.
Here with us now, Jonathan Turley, Fox News contributor, GW University law professor. Jonathan, I want to play part of the moment from 2017 that may be at the center of all this. Watch.
Have you ever been an anonymous source in news reports about matters relating to the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation?
Never.
Have you ever authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports about the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation?
No.
Stop the cap.
Professor Turley, what are your thoughts after looking over this very short document that we have before us?
Well, there's a crushing irony here because the two counts involve 18 U.S.C. 1001, 18 U.S.C. 1505. The first one is the very same crime that Comey made against Michael Flynn. And Comey gave speeches delighting crowds and explaining how what he did with Flynn wasn't exactly copacetic, that he just sent a couple of guys over and basically tricked him. And ultimately, they charged him on what many of us thought was a pretty thin indictment. So there is that irony. These two counts are mirror images, it appears, that they are alleging that the false statements also constituted the obstruction. But there is the interesting aspect to this is that, as you know, Laura, it's very, very hard to make out perjury cases against particularly sophisticated players like James Comey. This is a little different because they're just focusing on one statement, and that is, did you get someone else to leak information? That's true or false. And his aide and close associate, McCabe, said that he did order him or authorize him to make such a leak. We also know that Comey later admitted that he called a friend, which I'm presuming is Columbia professor Daniel Richman, to get information to the New York Times and to the media after he was fired. So this is a rather murky situation for Comey. He was, Comey is a careful player, but he's also a bit of a rogue operator when things get tense. He went rogue with the Clinton press conference, but he particularly went rogue when he was being fired. He removed material from the FBI. The Inspector General issued a scathing report saying that he violated the FBI rules. It did not find that he leaked classified information, but that information was FBI information he should never have removed. And then he himself admitted that he called up a friend to leak some information to the media. Now, that doesn't actually give him a pristine appearance. It suggests a foundation for this type of charge. None of us are happy about seeing political opponents charged. And so this case is going to remain controversial. The president truly despises this individual, and it appears to be a mutual feeling. But when you look at the charge itself, it is different from what's...
Comey has already claimed his innocence. He says, yes, I am innocent. He also said, we will not live on our knees, signaling a defiance and resilience to what he describes as political pressure. Yeah, so yes, he is also saying that it is fear. Fear is a tool of a tyrant. So, of course, he's talking about, oh, this is fascism. He's being a dictator. No, bro, you just got caught. I'm sorry. But shout out to my man, Maine.
Your ass going to jail. You jail. Lock his ass up. Lock his ass up. You going to jail. You're going to jail.
Some people might have thought it's going to come down to whether Jim Comey is a leaker and a liar.
Did he or didn't he? Did he or didn't he? And did he have the willful intent, which I think going to that point, and there are two different issues here. He passed information off to his buddy at Columbia, Richmond, who is his old colleague, and then Richmond gave it to Michael Schmidt at the New York Times, and Michael Schmidt then would shape the coverage of this Russia collusion story with that information. Now, that in and of itself demonstrates what, Jonathan? That the FBI director was intimately involved in trying to guide the media to report the situation as he saw it, when that information presumably should not have been released under any circumstances.
Yeah, I'm actually not certain as to what is more unnerving for people in Washington. The fact that a political opponent of the president was indicted, which you can have legitimate concerns about, or whether more likely it's someone's being prosecuted for a leak. I mean, this city floats on a rolling sea of leaks. And, Comey and the FBI have been accused of leaking information when it serves their purpose. But this is something that occurs.
Hold on now. You can't lie to Congress, guys. You know that, right? You can't do that, especially if you plead, you put your hand on the Bible, so I'm telling the truth and all that good stuff. Yeah, that's perjury. This is what he's getting caught up for. I mean, I try to hear somebody in the chat. Well, if he goes to jail, most Americans can go to jail. Bro, for perjury? Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's part of our law. Like, here's the problem. It does seem like when somebody on the left is being held accountable, you guys want to act like it's a violation of the Constitution when it's really just your side being held accountable. That's it. That's all. It's like the same thing with Kimmel. You try to say it was a free speech violation. I'm like, no, not when his bosses suspend him. No, it's pretty much just corporate interest at that point.
Often in Washington, it's done with lethal effect. So I think that many people might find it even more unnerving that this is pretty much a leak prosecution. It's false statements, but it's really all about a leak.
And Jonathan, the president, I think we have the soundbite today in the Oval Office. There's a lot going on, executive orders. We had Erdogan's visit, but the president addressed this then potential indictment of James Comey. And this was Truth Social. He just actually posted this. Justice in America, one of the worst human beings this country has ever been exposed to is James Comey, the former corrupt head of the FBI. Today, he was indicted by a grand jury on 2 felony counts for various illegal and unlawful acts. He's been so bad for our country for so long. It is now at the beginning of being held responsible for his crimes against our nation.
So he faces 2 felony counts: making a false statement in violation of 18 U.S.C. Code, what was it, 1001. The indictment says Comey falsely claimed that he did not authorize someone at the FBI to be an anonymous source in media reporting, and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. The government alleged he attempted to influence, obstruct, and impede the Senate Judicial Committee's investigation by giving false or misleading statements. And this is what they got him on. Pretty much just being a liar.
America.
And hiding evidence.
Great again. Well, that's President Trump. That was not what I was going to play, but that just came out. So we decided
to be honest, I mean, yeah, if you obstruct an investigation as an American citizen, I mean, you'll get locked up. You don't got to be the former director of the FBI for that to happen to you. And yeah, you can also get hit up with perjury as well, especially if you lie, on the stand in court.
Read that off. Well, look, everyone knows President Trump has no use for James Comey, and Comey really did enormous damage to the United States and the public's trust in the FBI over the years, and wanted Donald Trump in prison for something that was totally false, and has never apologized for it, has never shown any remorse for it, and said, in fact, he did everything basically, with.
Thank you, Hellbat. Lying under oath is a felony, which for some reason they have forgot. And I'm just looking at y'all.
That shit is hard. Hey, bro, come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Bro, he lied under oath. Like, what? Like, how could this be like what? An unconstitutional? No, we're just following the law here.
Good faith and in his view by the book.
Well, in fact, he wrote a book on ethical leadership that portrayed himself as sort of the ultimate model of ethical leadership. Many of us disagreed with that. I've been a critic of Comey for a long time. We have to see what evidence there still is here. There's legitimate grounds for concern for people about a political opponent. But this is a very direct and focused indictment, and somebody is lying.
It's not a sprawling indictment. It's very, very specific, which I think is a lot smarter than doing any kind of long, windy indictment. Jonathan, thank you very much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. All right, guys, let's get over to the left side of media and let's see what they got to say. All right, let's get right into it.
Former FBI Director James Comey is now the first senior government official to face charges in one of President Trump's biggest grievances.
Ooh, I mean, damn. I mean, it does suck when somebody, when you're making history in the worst way. Whoosh.
The 2016 Russia investigation. Comey is charged with giving a false statement and obstruction of a congressional proceeding relating to the testimony he gave before the Senate Judiciary Committee 5 years ago. This indictment comes just days after the president publicly demanded it, and shortly after the person the president had picked to be the U.S. attorney in this office quit. And the new U.S. attorney, 3 days into that job, did what the president had wanted to happen only 5 days before the statute of limitations was set to run out. Tonight, the president is celebrating, writing in all caps on Truth Social, quote, "Justice in America. One of the worst human beings this country has ever exposed to is James Comey, the former corrupt head of the FBI. Today, he was indicted by a grand jury on 2 felony counts for various illegal and unlawful acts. He has been so bad for our country for so long and is now at the beginning of being held responsible for his crimes against our nation." The president ended his post with "Make America Great Again." This comes as I'm told by sources tonight that James Comey is expected to surrender tomorrow morning. We'll be watching, obviously, that appearance very closely.
Well,
but the former director of the FBI has already made quite clear tonight that he's prepared to fight these charges.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right, but I'm not afraid.
And I would tell you that lying is the tool of a coward. So that's what I would like to say.
And I hope you're not either. I hope instead you are engaged, you are paying attention, and you will vote like your beloved country depends upon it, which it does. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
Allegedly, he allegedly lied under oath. Let's remember, use the word allegedly. Remember, that's why, well, pretty much he's being indicted on it, so they feel like they have a strong case. Let's see what happens. Excuse me.
Comey saying he's prepared for this to go to trial. We'll see if that happens. And of course, this comes after the president had made no secret of his plan to try to make this day happen when he was running for re-election. So much so that I actually asked former director James Comey about this more than a year ago and whether or not he thought this day would ever come.
Do you believe that Donald Trump will come after you personally if he's reelected?
Maybe. I mean, he spent 4 years coming after me. I think all I ended up with was a $400 tax refund, which is great. I guess I overpaid my taxes. I don't worry about me. I have the resources and the friends, and I know how things work. I can defend myself. I really worry about the people who have less of that than I do, the people making the cases, the career civil servants who are prosecutors and judges who are the bedrock of our rule of law. They are the people who will be most at threat.
I want to get straight to CNN's senior justice correspondent, Evan Perez, who's following this closely. Evan, obviously, we've seen this indictment now. It's just about 2 pages. It's quite brief, actually. As you combed through it, what stood out to you?
And remember, his crimes are, well, the indictment says Comey falsely claimed that he did not authorize someone at the FBI to be an anonymous source in media reporting. And this is, well, according to the Justice Department. So, yeah, we're going to see where they got that evidence from. Maybe they got witnesses that's going to point out Comey and be like, yeah, I'm an FBI agent. Comey told me to go out there and give, false evidence. All right. It is what it is. Or, my bad, to be an anonymous source. Yes, he told me to go out there and be an anonymous source. Excuse me. Let me correct myself. So pretty much Comey's accused of telling some FBI agent to go out there and be an anonymous source to the media. He said he didn't do that, but apparently they might have some witnesses. I don't know, recording, emails that says otherwise. We'll find out.
Yeah, no, the bare bones nature of this charge, of this indictment really stands out. And what we know about it.
And shout out to Mandy Rose. Well, I guess Ashes Rose. Appreciate the support. And hold on. And that is a baller alert, by the way. Appreciate the support, sis. Oh, look, now it's 53. Now we are getting closer. Let's open up those lines and appreciate the support. Shout out, Mandy.
Caitlin, is that Lindsay Halligan, who is the newly installed U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia, she is the one who personally presented this to the grand jury. That's not normal. Usually you have career assistant U.S. attorneys who make these presentations to the grand jury. In this case, we know that there were concerns that were raised by the career lawyers in that office who did not believe that this was a case that they could bring to fruition. And so what we have here is 2 counts against the former FBI director, an extraordinary day in America.
Oh yeah, and the second count is obstruction of congressional proceedings. So basically like getting in the way of an investigation. The government alleged he attempted to influence, obstruct, and impede the Senate Judiciary Committee's investigation by giving false or misleading statements. So yeah, I mean, those are the 2 charges that they have on them, and well, indictments that they have on them, and we're going to see where that goes.
American history, of course. But we also know that there was a 3rd count that prosecutors had tried to get approval for that the grand jury rejected. We know that what was rejected, according to the magistrate judge, was a count of false statements in the jurisdiction of a congressional proceeding and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. And so those 2 carry 5-year terms if he is convicted. Of course, we're a long way from there. And we know that Comey, as he says in his video statement there, is planning to fight this. We also have a statement from his personal lawyer, Pat Fitzgerald, who says Jim Comey denies the charges filed today in their entirety. We look forward to vindicating him in the courtroom. And so that process begins tomorrow in earnest, as your reporting indicates. He's going to be surrendering in the federal court there in Alexandria. And then we'll see how this case fares before a judge and before eventually perhaps a jury.
Yeah, and so since he's expected to surrender tomorrow, I just think for everyone watching, there are some people complaining on the right that he's not being arrested. The agents aren't showing up at his house to arrest him as a result of this. What is tomorrow going to look like? What are you going to be watching for as the next steps happen here over what was so clearly telegraphed by the president himself here?
Yeah, look, I mean, your reporting, which indicates that he's going to be allowed to surrender, is actually a very big deal because, as you pointed out, people on the right, they want him picked up like Roger Stone was and other people were. And look, what usually happens in these cases, in normal cases, is that someone who, like him, is not a flight risk, is not believed to have any plans to flee, is given the opportunity to surrender themselves. And so that is being handled in the normal course that it is. They've been in touch with his lawyers and they know what is going to happen. No,
he's innocent till proven guilty. So like I said, allegedly, this is what he did. We will see what the evidence is and how things get brought down on him, because I'm pretty interested. I wonder the evidence that they got on him to the point where they're so confident on it. They're like, yeah, we can indict you on this and we're going to go ahead and see what we can get. I mean, hey, must be some pretty convincing evidence, or at least somewhat convincing. And shout out to my man Hellbat. He says, don't worry, nobody's above the law. The bar for investigation is very low. Your rules, we win. I mean, shout out to my man Hellbat. And appreciate the support, guys. Let's not forget to double tap that screen and like the video. Let's get more people in the conversation by double tapping that screen. And this stream is powered by Celsius, which you can also get as well if you go ahead and look above, and you'll also see some products, and you can get you a pretty patriotic shirt. All right, back to the show.
Expect that he's going to be released on his own recognizance, and then this trial will begin. This case will begin in earnest. Here's the thing: the fact that the president of the United States has made so crystal clear what he wants in this case has done some damage. And the briefs from Pat Fitzgerald and the lawyers kind of write themselves, right? Because the president has made clear that he was ordering this prosecution. And we know from our own reporting and what's out there that prosecutors in the office had some concerns. We also know that Lindsay Halligan, who was just brought there in the office, was the one who had to personally present this case to the grand jury. So all of that stuff will come rushing back as part of the story, as part of the case, as this goes forward.
Yeah, Evan Perez, as you learn more, obviously, throughout the hour, we'll check back in with you and our team. Thank you for that reporting. Sure. My legal sources are here tonight. We've got Elliot Williams, Judge Jill Konviser, and Ellie Honig, 3 of the best voices on this. And Elliot Williams, I want to start with you because I just want to read some reporting from my colleague, Caitlin Polantz, who says that a court record has made public what the grand jury voted no on, what Evan was just referencing there in terms of a potential 3rd charge here. And it was on another alleged false statement to Congress. As Caitlin notes in her reporting here, she says that's a very unusual occurrence in the federal court system. And this is not part of the indictment, but according to the record, it pinpoints Comey's answer when he was asked about an alleged plan from Hillary Clinton during the 2016 campaign. He had testified to Lindsey Graham back in 2020, given this was 5 years ago, people probably don't recall this, that didn't ring any bells with him. Graham had told him about this alleged plan, about distracting from her use of an email server. It is something that obviously conservatives have talked about at length. And I wonder what you make of the fact that the grand jury said yes on 2 of these charges, but no on that 3rd charge there.
Right. It's a notable occurrence anytime the grand jury does not reject a charge. Now, it's certainly not a rubber stamp for the work of prosecutors, but for the most part, when prosecutors go to the grand jury, they come back with charges. Now, what it appears, I think the logical conclusion to draw from it is that the grand jury simply did not believe there was probable cause to find that the offense was committed. Now, there might have been evidence to suggest that Jim Comey had knowledge there, but really, what needed to be established was that he knew his statement was false and still made it anyway. That is the big wrinkle here and is going to apply across all the other charges in this case. Not simply that there was a statement that people didn't like or that was ambiguous or had some gray area, but that he knew he was making a falsehood, a material falsehood, and still went ahead and made it anyway. Those can sometimes be hard to prove, and I would assume that the grand jury just assumed they didn't have it here.
All right. Now let's go ahead and get into J.D. Vance interview with Laura Ingraham. Let's get into it.
Earlier today, I had the chance to sit down exclusively with Vice President J.D. Vance at the White House. Covered everything from Kamala to Kimmel to Kirk. And of course, the dangerous.
Yeah, apparently, Kamala's book came out, and it's people like, "Oh, this is full of lies." And then she says something pretty homophobic. Actually, it was actually pretty funny. She said she didn't choose Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg. Well, the gay senator. She didn't choose that guy, Pete Buttigieg, because, well, he's gay. I know, right? I was like, whoa, Kamala said that in her book? Like, oh, that's crazy. That is hilarious. So you didn't pick the decent communicator. You picked Tim Walz, a complete F up, but you didn't want to get the good communicator because he was gay. You didn't feel like America was ready for a gay vice president? That's wild to say right there. That is wild.
Rhetoric Democrats continue to spew.
As somebody who understands history, when I see ICE, I see slave patrols.
Donald Trump's modern day Gestapo.
ICE, you see slave patrol? No. Slave patrol mean we would catch them and take them back to the farms that they're pretty much, being taken advantage on. We would catch them and bring them to, your neighbor's house to fix up their roof for free. Yeah, I think you forgot what slave catchers were.
Is scooping folks up off the streets. They're in unmarked vans wearing masks.
Which would be nice. Snatched off the street by secret police who are wearing masks.
These people are terrorizing our communities.
Mr. Vice President, thanks for joining us tonight.
Good to see you.
Democrats have called ICE agents everything from slave patrols, kidnappers, and Nazis who are terrorizing communities. So we saw yet another shooting yesterday at an ICE facility. So what's your message to Democrats who keep spewing this type of violent rhetoric?
Well, it's to look in the mirror and stop this craziness, or you're going to get somebody killed. In fact, I think a lot of them already have gotten somebody killed, namely my friend Charlie Kirk and a number of other folks as well. If you look at, it's not just the Democrats, Laura, the media is participating in this. I saw a story on NBC News just a couple of days ago, right before the ICE shooting in Dallas, and they were effectively accusing ICE of mistreating a 5-year-old child. Now, it turned out that story was completely fake, but if you read that headline and you were a crazy person, I could see how that could.
They said, oh, yeah, Trump is deporting children, American citizens. And we're like, no, we're deporting their mom because they're an illegal and she wants to take her kids with her. I mean, who are we to separate a family? Like, what do you Dems want us to do? Separate the family and put the kids in foster care? Like, that's effed up.
Incite you to violence. So I think in a lot of ways, the Democrats and the media, because they so hate the idea of a real border are engaging in a kind of blood libel against ICE agents. They're accusing them of engaging in crimes. They're accusing them of being part of the Gestapo. They're actually inciting violence against our law enforcement. They know exactly what they're doing, and now it's time to stop. Now, the shooting of yesterday, it turns out that the people who were killed were actually detainees, not ICE agents. I'm obviously glad that ICE agents weren't killed in that.
Yes, one detainee died, not two, but one
attack, but saddened that these detainees were killed, because though we don't want illegal aliens in our country, we also don't want them being shot at by crazy left-wing terrorists, which is, I think, what happened yesterday in Dallas. So all of this should have the left stepping back and saying, how can we actually contribute to a more reasonable conversation? Yes, we can criticize J.D. Vance's and Donald Trump's views on immigration, but we're not going to attack the law enforcement with libel and lies. We're going to make this a reasonable policy disagreement. I think that's how you tone down the rhetoric. Unfortunately, the Democrats show no willingness to do that. But again,
I mean, yeah, when you call ICE slave catchers, Gestapo, I mean, come on now, Nazis, what do you think is going to happen? Like I said, it's like the left's rhetoric is out of control, and they don't understand how they're radicalizing some people. I mean, I know you guys are trying to sell a point, and y'all don't really believe that, but some people aren't smart enough to recognize that.
They don't stop, they're going to get more people killed.
Democrats' rising star, she's described as that, Jasmine Crockett, is one of the many refusing to tone down the rhetoric. Watch this.
I am using that language because it is accurate language. When we see them trying to chill speech of jokesters, when we're seeing all of this, that is a playbook out of Hitler.
Playbook out of Hitler, Mr. Vice President. Look, if...
Oh, no, shout out to hell, but he said that's a different one. Vance is referring to what, saying they were using children to lure their fathers out to snatch them is... I ain't gonna lie, that's diabolical. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. If they were doing that, that is diabolical. I'm like, what? Like come out here, don't we got your child so we can deport you? Yeah, that don't even sound right. I'm sorry, but like they're not criminals, guys. Well, I'm gonna be real with you. They're not not violent criminals. Not all of them are violent criminals. They just overstayed their welcome. So to sit there and use their children as bait is completely unnecessary, and be honest, is untrue. And if anybody believed that, well, they got you guys. They got you, because that is not true. There's no way they're doing that because, well, it's unnecessary to do so. They can just, I don't know, go into a Home Depot parking lot. I mean, go ahead and run into your nearby factory and they'll catch plenty of them. They don't got to sit there and use kids as bait. Like, come on now.
If we really thought Hitler was running the U.S. government, it would be our duty as citizens.
Man, you're acting like we dealing with terrorists in Afghanistan. Like, come on now, guys, chill out.
To try to stop that by any means necessary. So that is an example of what we're seeing today.
Well, that's exactly right. And a reasonable response to fascism, to Nazism would be violence, right? So what they're saying effectively is that you should engage in violence because the regime, using Jasmine Crockett's words, are so bad. Look, this is obvious. They're obviously using the kind of rhetoric that turns the dial up to 10. They're trying to make this, they're trying to delegitimize our entire political worldview. But in the process, I think that they're motivating at least some crazy people to go out and commit acts of violence. And again, Laura, I'm a big boy. Criticize my views on immigration policy all you want. Criticize the president, criticize our administration. But when you lie about our ICE officers, when you encourage unmasking and doxing, when you encourage your followers to go and engage in violent protests against our law enforcement, you are...
Yeah, I mean, look at LA. They was throwing rocks at them. I mean, they was crushing their... I mean, let's be real. Some of the ICE agents sustained damage. And I mean, got their arms crushed. Vehicles were damaged. Like, this was absolutely insane what was going down in LA. And then the left was championing it. They was championing it. And there was her law enforcement. And this was the same left that was getting mad about the Capitol Police on January 6th. Remember that part? The same ones.
By definition, inciting violence against the men and women who keep us safe. That's what really worries me. It's not the criticisms of me. It's the criticisms of the people on the ground who are just doing their job. They're trying to keep us safe. They're trying to enforce our border laws. And they are being treated by terrorists by the Democrats and leadership in Washington, D.C. It's disgraceful, but more than that, it is inciting violence against our police officers, against our ICE officers. It's just got to stop. They're going to get more people killed. They've already gotten people killed. It's got to stop.
On a cultural touchstone, which also...
And sadly, it's like the people that was one of the people that they're trying to, I guess, stand up for. That kid ended up killing.
seems to be having a lot of political implications is the Jimmy Kimmel issue. His second night back on the air, he called Donald Trump a bully.
For those who think I go too hard on Donald Trump, to the point where there are still a lot of people who think I should be pulled off the air for making fun of Donald Trump. So I want to explain.
No. See, that's what I'm saying. Like the complete lie of it. No, bro, you was pulled off the air for saying that the shooter was MAGA. That's why. That's why you got pulled off the air, and that's why you got suspended. I mean, after that, you let it with a distasteful joke about Trump's grievancing, his grieving. I'm sorry, him grieving Charlie Kirk. So you want to sit here and try to pretend like it wasn't about news distortion. You're on ABC. ABC has to maintain an FCC licensing. I mean, and so does their affiliates. So he can't go out there and say that on their airways. I mean, he can say it on YouTube. He can say it on Spotify, anywhere else, but an airway that has to maintain an FCC license. So it had nothing, honestly, to do with Trump or the FCC. It had everything to do with, ABC affiliates hearing complaints from the people that watch them, saying that they do not like what Kimmel said, and they do not like how he literally tried to say that the shooter was MAGA. And honestly, that is a policy of the FCC to not do what? News distortion. Even if you are a late night talk show host, bro, he could have been, like I said, it could have been a cartoon that said the same thing he said, and they'd have still got in trouble. So it's consistent across the board.
I talk about Trump more than anything because he's a bully. Donald Trump is an old-fashioned 80s movie style bully.
Celebrities are rallying to his cause, saying this is a First Amendment assault being carried out by the FCC, Brendan Carr, and by the president of the United States himself. And to that, you say?
Well, there are two things. First of all, I'd like them to tell me exactly what Brendan Carr did to have Jimmy Kimmel taken off the air, because number one, he is currently on the air, and to the extent that he isn't in certain stations, it's because he's not funny and because his ratings aren't very good. So it is.
Yeah, because what was it? I think it was St. Clair Media Group and Nexstar Media Group did not put him back on the airways because, they didn't do what he asked. He pretty much said, screw him. But hey, though, Jimmy Kimmel, he kind of came back with a pretty good ratings on that first episode. So at a certain point, they're like, who gives a damn? But it does kind of go to show that, he didn't really turn down the temperature. He didn't really apologize. And he kind of, I ain't going to say he was fake crying, but he hit us with a very unconvincing, sad voice. Very unconvincing. But it is what it is.
Actually, we should let these stations determine whether they want a non-funny comedian.
Why should the government chime in at all? I mean, doesn't it give them fodder for their argument that this is like a pressure because of the mergers that are coming up, and so this is the government kind of putting its finger on the scale? So why even mention Jimmy Kimmel? It's just helping him.
I think that Brendan.
Oh yeah, and they did also try to say that. The reason why ABC or Disney went ahead and got involved. They're trying to say it's because of the merge that they're trying to get. I think Nexstar is trying to purchase. What was it? I don't know, some other media group, but they're pretty much trying to say that they're trying to capitulate to the FCC in order to be good with the FTC, which is the Federal Trade Commission. So they'll go ahead and let them get that merge. But to be quite honest, I mean, even then you guys would be admitting that it's not about government interest, it's about corporate interest.
Or put out a couple of tweets or a couple of truths or whatever he did, that does not constitute government coercion. And it's pretty rich, Laura, coming from the Democrats after years of the Biden administration explicitly demanding that social media companies censor. You didn't hear anything from the Democrats. You didn't hear anything from these celebrities about free speech. But Brendan Carr putting out a couple of tweets constitutes the shutdown of Jimmy Kimmel's free speech rights. It's preposterous. There's something else that's important here, Laura, which is that these broadcast companies, ABC, NBC, CBS, they enjoy the public airwaves because they serve the public interest. So I actually think that we should be having a conversation about whether these companies are serving the public interest. That's actually totally separate from the Jimmy Kimmel issue because nothing happened to him. He's currently on the air, and to the extent that he's not, it's because advertisers don't like him because his
rating. I know they try to say, it's about freedom of speech. I mean, no, it isn't. What you mean? The government didn't get involved. A private corporation did. And the whole First Amendment protects you guys from government interference and, of course, getting prosecuted. But, of course, the government interference and prosecution. I mean, if your job wants to fire you from what you say online, it's their prerogative to do so. I mean, it's go ahead. They can do it. And it's all legal. I mean, if that's violating your First Amendment, then hey, you're pretty much saying that you can't be fired for saying like what outrageous things online or posting outrageous things online. And you're pretty much just saying you could be a brand risk to your company and they can't do anything about it. Like, is that fair? Like, think about that.
Meetings aren't very good.
Well, he didn't apologize. Would it matter if he did?
I think it would matter. Actually, I'd love for Jimmy Kimmel to apologize to Erica and to all of the people that he slandered. He tries to say that he told a joke. He didn't tell a joke. He was actually accusing right-wing America, conservative America, of killing Charlie Kirk. We now know that is false. Charlie Kirk was murdered by a left-wing assassin who was radicalized by some of the rhetoric that we see coming from the far left. When you accuse the people who've been holding prayer vigils, who've been praying about Charlie Kirk, you accuse them of killing Charlie Kirk.
I mean, if y'all want to do the argument of using jawboning in this situation, bro, because let's go ahead and read out the definition of jawbone. So pretty much they're saying attempt to persuade or pressure by force of one's position of authority. So by the force of one's position of authority. So you're pretty much saying that your boss who signs your check can't say nothing to you. That's how y'all sound right now. I mean, of course, there's a word for your boss coming down on you if you want to call it jawboning, but it doesn't impede your First Amendment rights. I mean, as long as it's not, well, the government coming down on you, unless you work for the government, and then that makes sense. But if you're pretty much saying that because your boss, or in the Kimmel's case, the ABC affiliates in Disney, bro, if that's your problem, then I'm be honest with you, you're being a bit unfair. You're pretty much saying that your job can't fire you for saying outrageous things online, but they can. And that doesn't go against your First Amendment rights because the government's not coming after you. The law's not coming after you, but your job is, and they can do that. So the whole jawboning thing, it just doesn't stand up in this argument. And I'm like I said, I mean, but if you want to sit here and say that, hey, no boss can fire you for whatever you say, then I mean, shoot, that's your stance, not mine. Now, shout out Dr. Butt Tool. Why are liberals also so pathetic mentally and physically? Never seen so many small pencil neck, little-handed dudes. Oh, god damn. Yeah, I mean, they do have a uniform, do they not? They do tend to be either overweight or scrawny with colored hair. I mean, or, well, untamed hair. They do have quite the uniform.
We know it was a left-wing assassin. You're actually apologizing for his murder. You're
a pretty damn obvious uniform. You could damn near tell who's a liberal by looking at him.
Encouraging more of that violence to happen. If we're going to stop this crazy strain of left-wing violence, we have to be honest about what it is. And the honest truth is that Charlie Kirk was not killed by a MAGA American. He was not killed by a Republican. He was killed by a left-wing radical. Let's be honest about that fact so that we can stop it from happening.
There were disturbing flyers found on Georgetown University's campus yesterday, put up by a leftist gun club with the phrase, "Hey, fascist, catch," which was the same engraving on the bullets near where the assassin was who killed Charlie. So what is your reaction to this? And is there a role that the federal government can play with these?
I'm gonna be rude. I can't believe that's really an argument. Jawbone? So like Kimmel's boss come to them. This which is pretty much what y'all saying. All right, the Disney comes and say, yo, Kimmel, bro, what you said on there was outrageous. Can you go ahead and take it back and issue an apology? He says no. So they suspend him and they let him back on. And you're pretty much saying that's wrong. That's wrong. Like I said, you guys obviously do y'all really work a job? How about this? Why don't you go out there and say something outrageous on your social media and see what happens to you the next day at work? Why don't you go ahead and make an outrageous, say something outrageous on TikTok, make a video and see if you have your job in a week. I'm just saying, go ahead, do it. F around and find out, because apparently y'all don't understand this one thing right here.
See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
Universities given what's being done to perhaps incite violence against conservative speakers or conservative students or the few conservative faculty on these campuses?
Well, first of all, as a basic policy issue, if you are using federal dollars to incite violence against conservatives, you're not going to get those federal dollars anymore. And we're looking at that right now. So Georgetown needs to make sure that it's actually making it safe for everybody, whether they're liberal or conservative, to express their views. If you're promoting and encouraging violence, I think you're by definition violating the contract you have with your students. You're violating the contract that you have with the American public. Let's step back and just appreciate this. Okay, to engage in an act of political violence, of course, there's the person at the top of the pyramid who's pulling the trigger. That's the person that we're prosecuting. That's the person that we're going after that has to see justice. But there's also all the people who apologize for that violence. There's the people who celebrate for that violence. There are the people who fund the networks that actually encourage and promote that violence. We really have to dismantle the entire network of left-wing violence in this country.
What are we doing to do that, though, Mr. Vice President? A lot of conservatives are frustrated. They feel like the administration might be dragging its feet on this. Antifa is just one organization. There are many out there. But people want to see people go to jail for this.
Well, first of all, people will go to jail for this. But the President of the United States has made very clear we're taking a whole of government approach to this. We're looking at the funding networks. We're looking at the people who are inciting violence. We're looking at the people who are promoting and encouraging violence. That takes time to do it the right way, Laura. We're going to make sure that we do this the right way.
With First Amendment concerns.
Of course, you have to protect people's First Amendment rights. You have to protect people's free speech rights. But the First Amendment does not protect imminent incitements to violence. If you are actively promoting your fellow man to kill other people, that is not protected by the First Amendment, and we have to be clear about that. We have to go after that stuff. But look, Laura, you cannot celebrate the person who murdered Charlie Kirk and be welcome in polite society in this country. You are guilty of—
celebrating somebody's death, it's no wonder they're getting fired. If you want to celebrate Charlie Kirk's death, and if you posted on TikTok, you got fired. Bro, how'd you not know that was going to happen? Do you really think that your job wants to be associated with somebody who celebrates somebody else's death? You really think that they want to get down with that when that could hurt their stock, hurt their sales? Bro, when you work for somebody, you can become you're a brand. Remember, you're part of their brand, and you could be a brand risk. And bro, a lot of these guys going out there saying that outrageous stuff about Charlie Kirk and them losing their jobs. I was like, bro, what do you think was going to happen? That made no sense for you to go out there, post videos like that and think that there wasn't going to be consequences. Really?
Encouraging this culture of violence. You're guilty of actually promoting the culture of violence. If you're celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder, if you're encouraging other people to take up arms in the same way, you may not be the person pulling the trigger, but if you're not being careful about the way that you incite violence, you are yourself part of the problem, and that's what we need to get to the root of.
And let's be honest. I always do like to point to this poll right here. Now, let's see here. Now, the question was, do you think it is ever justified for citizens to resort to violence in order to achieve political goals? This was asked, and here's the headline. Most Americans across the political spectrum say political violence is never justified, but younger and more liberal Americans are more likely to disagree. And here it is. So a lot in the red, it says, yes, violence is sometimes to be justified. Yes, violence can be sometimes justified. Now, as we go to political ideology, it does seem like the more liberal you are, the more likely you are to think that it's okay to hurt people because they think differently than you. Then it goes down, as you reach a liberal, then you're moderate and you're conservative, and yet you're very conservative at 3%. So it does seem like, it does, guys. It is the left at this point. You guys, here's the thing. You guys are upfront about it. Y'all took a poll. This was y'all one time to denounce it, and you voted on it. So they're snitching on themselves, guys. You sometimes just gotta take them at their word, especially when they want to double down on it and put it on and vote on a poll and still say, you know what? I know this rhetoric is hot. I know this whole Charlie Kirk thing is crazy, but I still want to vote on I should be able to use violence against my political opponents. Still. Man, it's crazy. It is definitely crazy out here. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and get into the next video.
Anti-ICE terror in Dallas. A sniper on a nearby rooftop firing indiscriminately at the ICE facility below and striking an unmarked van that was transporting migrants. One of the detainees inside that vehicle was shot and killed. and 2 other illegal immigrants are in critical condition. No ICE officers were harmed, and the suspect turned the gun on himself. FBI Director Kash Patel posting this chilling image, shell casings found near the suspect's body with the words anti-ICE written on it. Last month, the same facility was hit with a bomb threat. Ted Cruz and J.D. Vance are begging Democrats to end the hate against ICE.
This needs to stop. Violence is wrong. Politically motivated violence is wrong. This must stop. To every politician who is using rhetoric, demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop.
But if your political rhetoric encourages violence against our law enforcement, you can go straight to hell. If you want to stop political violence, stop telling your supporters that everybody who disagrees with you is a Nazi.
Trump posting on Truth. I am calling on all Democrats
fair
to
to
stop
say.
this rhetoric against ICE and America's law enforcement. Right.
So stop calling them Gestapo. Stop calling them a fascist group. Stop trying to paint them as terrorists. Stop it. Stop it. Okay, that's pretty much what we're saying. You guys have went too far. Obviously, people are taking it the wrong way, and now that it's in y'all face, I wonder what the Dems will say at this point. How will y'all spin this
now? But the Democrats aren't getting.
Oh wait, I already know how they're gonna spin it. Well, ICE needs to chill. ICE needs to turn down the temperature. Like wild
message.
Masked men jumping out of unmarked cars, people disappearing, no due process. No oversight, zero accountability happening in the United States of America today. People ask, well, is authoritarianism, you're being hyperbolic? Bull, we're being hyperbolic.
I believe that one of the reasons Donald Trump wants to send troops into American cities is because he wants to be able to take control of the 2026 election. It's about his authoritarian need to control.
And right before the shooting, Hillary was on Morning Joe saying we got to stop demonizing half the country as she demonized half the country.
We have got to stop demonizing each other.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, I think most of that right now in our country's history is coming, from the right, coming from people who want to dominate. They want their point of view. We have got to.
That shit is hard. Hey, bro, come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Y'all just don't learn y'all lesson. Yeah, like I said, and they talk out both sides of their mouths. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Hillary's an expert at that. So this is just common. This is common for Hillary.
Stop with the finger pointing and the scapegoating.
Dana, basket of deplorables, irredeemable.
I mean, ain't nothing more scapegoating than when I'm gonna be real with you, alleged leftist radical goes out there, writes anti-ICE on his bullets and go out there and take a shot. And isn't that kind of like, pointing fingers or scapegoating when they try to say that ICE should turn down the temperature? I'm just saying, I'm just putting that out there.
There's been a lot of that stuff coming from Hillary and her party. When is this going to stop?
I don't know. This morning I was getting ready for America's Newsroom. We had a big variety of things we were going to talk about today, several great guests. And I'm getting ready to do the tease at 8:45. And I look over and they said, there's no tease. And there's the breaking news that there was this shooting at ICE. And no, a lot of people might have missed me. Just kidding. I was out last week and I was out on a prearranged vacation. And the entire time I was trying to get back to what is typically my natural state of being, which is fairly optimistic. I can find the silver lining in things. I might be pragmatic, but I'm also like, things are going okay. I felt very grim. I felt that it was heavy. And one of the reasons is because I'm afraid of where this goes, because as Ted Cruz was saying, it's unacceptable. He says it must stop. I'm glad Paul's here today because from a law enforcement standpoint, I don't know how you stop it. And I think the rhetoric is obviously a problem, but I also think that some of these politicians, for as reprehensible as their rhetoric is, they are not the leaders that these people who are doing the shooting are listening to. Those people are listening amongst themselves. They're in a weird bubble that I don't quite understand. I can't quite get there. And I feel like one of the things Democrats must consider is that rhetoric against ICE, the policy, you want to change it? Fine, I'll listen. But rhetoric against the people of ICE is not just endangering now ICE agents, but also the detainees. So if you care about them, then maybe we should stop this But I don't know.
Yeah, because I mean, the kid was aiming to shoot the ICE officers, but like I said, they ended up shooting the detainee. So yeah, like I said, it was a complete unfortunate. It was unfortunate all around, but it's kind of crazy how he got let up to do that. And then and then you know what? It's not even crazy. It's not. It's just that I don't understand how Dems can't see that their rhetoric has gone too far. Like y'all been against this ICE agenda since the beginning. Y'all been against ICE doing their jobs from the beginning. After we've seen in LA with you guys throwing rocks at them, the car, and all that wild stuff, trying to stop them from doing their job, we probably should have seen this coming. But for it to happen right after the Charlie Kirk shooting and all this good stuff, it kind of just it's like y'all proving our point for us over and over again. And we wonder, God forbid, that we hope that there's not another event that just proves our point even further, because it's getting crazy. And the problem is that there's too much, bad rhetoric or anti-ICE rhetoric or just anti-fascist rhetoric on the left. And you know what? It's cool to be anti-fascist, but just because you disagree with somebody don't mean they're a fascist. I mean, we're all anti-fascists if you think about it.
Again, from a law enforcement perspective, how you get a handle on it when it feels like it's very dark and it's spreading and it's silent until it's not.
Paul, I know we're in the early stages of the investigation, but what can you tell us?
So a couple of things I would say real quick, and I know we're going to cover the politics of this, so let me stay a little more operational. First of all, ICE doesn't have the capacity. They don't have the resources to do deep prophylactic intel. They're not scraping the internet for cyber threats against ICE. You're going to have to use elements of DHS, et cetera. In other words, we're doing essentially domestic intelligence gathering for people, against people that want to harm ICE. We're going to have to do a lot more of that. It takes resources, it's going to take personnel, costs money. Police work costs money. This is the kind of thing that we traditionally think of having to run against, let's say, the Soviets, right? Back in the Cold War. We still do it, obviously, against Chinese, Russians, et cetera. But you need now, clearly, a really all-hands-on-deck approach to prophylactically protecting the people ahead of time that we're asking to do this legal work, legal, no matter what Newsom says. Secondly, real quick, we need a domestic terrorism law. We don't have one. We use that phrase very, very commonly, very, very blithely. We say, oh, this is domestic terrorism. Everybody thinks the box is checked and that's it. Both sides of the aisle have problems with a domestic terrorism law. Reasonable minds can disagree about this because both sides are worried about it being weaponized against them. That comes from the designation piece. Donald Trump's designation of Antifa, if nothing else, doesn't have much operational effect, but nothing else, raises the issue. What do you do when you have a domestic group that is essentially dedicated to overthrowing or counteracting violently the policies of the American government, legal policies of the American government? We don't have much of the capacity for that. And that's why, if you look deeply into it, Mangione, right? Ideological murder. You know what they had to charge him with federally to get that charge in? Stalking. And it's thin stuff, okay? And it's a real unique use of it. Realistically, if they do the same thing for Tyler Robinson, they're going to have to do something similar as far as I know right now. So we don't have a domestic terrorism law. It's time to take a close look at that. I have a piece dropping on Friday on Fox News website that delineates how I think we need to do it in a safe way. But we're kidding ourselves. If you look, Crooks, Ruth, Mangione, Tyler Robinson, Shapiro's fire. That was a lefty. ABC, the guy shoots up ABC studios because he doesn't like the way the Kimmel thing went.
Whoa. Crooks, Thomas Crooks, yeah. He was just, I mean, that kid, I was a violent kid. And like, especially after, they started releasing, I would say his comments. Yeah. When they started releasing some of this kid's comments that he would leave under videos and all that good stuff, you would see, yeah, this kid was all about violence. And what was crazy is about how he got radicalized by Trump. And it was all about, no, I'm not even going to say what it was all about because it's always leads back to them for some crazy reason. But hey, that's just the climate we live in.
This guy that stepped into a wedding in Nashua, all it is coming ideologically from one area. Eventually, do we have nuts in the right? Sure, of course. And eventually, you're going to get one. But right now, we're in the season of real leftist violence. It is something that we call domestic terrorism. We don't have the mechanism. If I was sitting where Congress is now, I'd like to see somebody on Donald Trump's staff say, crack the whip. Let's start to look at this because Congress has been MIA on this.
Jessica, you have never called ICE agents fascists or Gestapo, Nazis. You've never done that, but there are people in your party that have done that. Do you think that's responsible?
Listen, I think that fascism and fascists is a very special category of people, and you should use it when it's really applicable and sparingly, because then people will believe you when you say it. And it has become too common to hear words like that. And that is a both sides problem. And last week we went through the litany of times that Donald Trump has used that rhetoric, and the fact that he came out after Charlie Kirk's tragic assassination and said the radical left did this. And then we heard a chorus of "we are at war." And that does permeate the entirety of American society, that they hear that from the top. We don't know
garbage.
that much.
That is absolute garbage.
It is
Continue. When something terrible happens
Greg,
to when somebody gets murdered, you are saying, how dare you be enraged by it? Continue.
No,
I'm done.
what I say is, how dare
There is no,
you
I'll give you the both.
blame
No, Jessica, I'll give you the
millions of
both sides.
Greg, why don't
I
you
agree
let me
with you.
finish?
There
We
is
did
both
this
sides.
just a week
On
ago.
one hand, you have the hard left, and on the other hand, you have the left.
Why are you
They're the both sides of the same coin, because you walk into this room and you're not reading it. There is no both sides. You don't have the evidence for that.
That's not true.
You
Who shot
can't
up
say
the
that Donald
CDC
Trump
and
says
killed
this.
someone?
You guys act on
You
it.
also-
You guys act on it. We don't.
That's
What do you
not-
want?
What do I want? I would like to.
I mean, let's be real though. All right. I want you guys to name, like I said, name one left-wing political pundit that's known all over. I don't know, like an Hassan Parker, a Destiny, somebody that could be related to Charlie Kirk. And have they been shot at? No. I mean, has any attempts been made against their life? No. And I hope it never does. I hope, God forbid, anything ever happens to them. I hope they never does. But I'm just saying, though, you guys can, that's the problem. What you guys say people are acting on. And here's the thing. Who on the right? Here's the thing. I don't know anybody on the right that's calling for violence against anybody. We're not even, who are we calling for violence against? If anything, we make fun of you guys. And I don't know if making jokes on you guys is violence, then y'all need to toughen up.
Talk about the specifics of who Vance Bolter actually was, since we fought about that last time, because you make it out as if this was just that he knew Melissa Hortman.
Let's focus on this thing now. I'll destroy you on that later. But focus on this now.
Fine,
You want to go back?
Focus on this now. This looks like a kid that was inflamed either by the leftist cabal, or maybe he used his own eyes. And maybe he saw what's going on. Maybe there are people in his community who are being picked up by people from ICE. Maybe he saw raids at Home Depot. Or maybe he did hear J.B. Pritzker. He seems like a Morning Joe viewer to me, right? Someone who had tuned in, saw Hillary Clinton, and then went out and grabbed his gun. The common denominator in all of this is that we have young men, usually young white men, who have access to these guns and are carrying out these tragedies. They are nihilists. They live online. And again, do you think it's normal that people are writing on casings anti-ICE? They think that it's a joke. You look at Tyler Robinson's.
Well, when they write on bullet casings, they kind of showing us their belief, like what they truly believe and why they're upset. I mean, let's be real, it's kind of one of the reasons why they kill themselves and, leave the casings behind as a low-key, as a suicide letter, and to let them know why they did it. And it is what it is.
Text messages with his roommate and partner, it reads like a joke. They just wanted us on Fox News to have to be able to read that stuff out loud. He even said it in the messages. So I get it. You're amped up. I don't think that I said anything worthy of that level of explosion.
Your rationalization of both sides. You have to understand, since Kurt's death, there is no both sides anymore, Jessica.
Why did the DOJ take down the study that showed how much right-wing extremism?
What study was that? Which one? The one in The Economist that was sponsored by a group run by a guy in Antifa? That study that has been discredited by the Federalists? You're walking down a really bad alley right now.
Federalists?
Yes. I actually did see, Jessica, I did the deep dive on that study. That study was authored by a project that was run by a guy who says he was an Antifa. That is why that whole thing has been scrubbed, okay? It's real simple. You label someone a fascist or a racist or a Nazi, it makes...
I'm going to have to look that one up myself. I'm not going to take Gutfield's award for it, but yeah, I'm going to have to look that up because you know what? A lot of people go off studies And then when you look deeply into them, you kind of realize how it's a skewed study. And especially when you find out who's behind it, what their beliefs are, like all types of wild stuff. Like, you know what? Let me give you guys a wild study. When they said that they went out to Africa and they, gave IQ tests, which they didn't, but they went out to Africa, they gave IQ tests, and they said, oh, Africans have an average IQ of 60. Yeah. You want to know who came? You want to know who sponsored that study? A eugenics, a eugenics society, or a group of people who believe in eugenics, a eugenics organization, people who believe that, you know what, there should only be a certain type of genetics around here, and it should be white people. And we believe that we're better than everybody. And we're going to go out there and give false, IQ tests to Africans. And we're not even going to go to every country. We're going to test right here. And then we're just going to say that's just the average test score. And then, we're going to have the white supremacists run on it, which they do all the damn time. But if you look into who put out that study, you can see, oh, it came from a eugenics organization. Of course, they will go out there and try to paint people like this. Of course, it just makes so much sense when you actually deep dive and not do surface level research.
That study was authored by a project that was run by a guy who says he was an Antifa. That is why that whole thing has been scrubbed, okay? It's real simple. You label some...
And shout out to Titan. Titan, he says, wars and rumors of wars, seek Christ. I mean, shoot. Hey, it's always a good time to try to seek Christ.
Someone a fascist or a racist or a Nazi, it makes you free to attack them, and that has been the ideology from the start. It's weird.
So why?
No. Let me talk.
Trump does it.
What?
Just tell me why it's okay.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Great. I'm enjoying this.
Okay. You won't be for long. The left calls Trump a hate monger. They have called me a hate monger because I ridicule the left. I ridicule protesters. I ridicule academia, Hollywood, the news media. I make fun of The View every day. I make fun of the UN. Guess what? No one acts on the things that I say because my side doesn't do that. We say people are stupid. We say people are wrong. But we don't say they're evil. That is your game, okay? And then you come and you say, okay, man, this is a mentally ill loner.
Yeah, like I said, we'll call y'all stupid, crazy, but we won't sit there and call you Nazis or fascists or anything or Gestapo. Like, we're not doing that. Like, that's the problem. Like, y'all have a pretty wild rhetoric towards us and, kind of matching us up with people who, people want to commit violence against. Like, who wouldn't want to stop the Nazis? Who wouldn't want to stop the fascists? Or the Gestapo. Like, who wouldn't want to stop those people? So, yeah, when you sit there and call people that all day, what do you think's going to happen?
Well, who do you think does this stuff? It's not Ben Affleck. It's not Tom Brady. It's not even Carrot Top. People who do this stuff are always that way. The question is, who points them in that direction? Why pick ICE? Why pick Kirk? Why target TV stations and put bombs under Fox trucks? Why vandalize memorials? Why kill kids in Catholic schools? Two things can be true. A person can be mentally ill, and you can be guiding him to that place in his life. That is how brainwashing works.
Okay.
There is a litany of examples.
You will not have them. If I gave you 2 months to look for them, you couldn't find them because they've been debunked.
Really?
You have one thing.
The
If you
guy
want to
who
talk
came
about,
and killed
if you want to talk a minute.
Salas's son has been debunked. Dylan Roof has been debunked. Vance Bolter and his list
Vance
of
Bolter,
dozens
we can talk
of
about
Democrats.
that. But
Yeah, come on now. The Vance Bolter one that said he was hired by Tim Walz to take out guys who disagreed with him. You mean that guy? You don't want to use him. Trust me. Like, if we go with the anti-Trump stuff in the back, come on now. No King's protests. Yeah, I don't know about that, especially when he said to the FBI, you can look this up, Vance Bolter said to the FBI that Tim Walz hired him to take out, Democrats. Now, do I believe him? No. But, if y'all want to call him a right wing, it's pretty hard to call him right wing when he's taking orders from Tim Walz, or he said he took orders from Tim Walz. And I believe him. I believe for him to be crazy. But it really is really hard to call out, right-wing activism or right-wing extremism when, one, he killed somebody, and RIP Melissa Horton, but he killed somebody who was speaking out against immigration. I mean, that doesn't sound like somebody who wants to, that doesn't sound like very right wing to me, or right wing activism. But like I said, it's a very confusing case, I'd like to say. So you can't sit there and say he's left wing. You can't there and say he's right wing, but you can say he's crazy.
Go ahead and talk about it.
Okay, you want to talk about it?
I do.
Okay, there was not a relentless drumbeat for 10 years about his victim like there was here. There was an intent and a motive for her killing by her killer alone. It wasn't 5. It wasn't National Review. It wasn't any show going like, you know what? We need to go after this fascist. Hopefully someone will take her out. That never happened.
Guys,
that is why your analogy is so pointless. And desperate.
Pipe bombs being sent to Democrats' houses. People saying in court, I was inspired by Donald Trump.
If you want to do this math, you're going to be embarrassed.
Brown people. According to you, I'm embarrassed every day. So frankly, I'm just feeling normal. Thank you.
We should do this every week.
Yes.
I honestly, it's first day of the week with Greg seems to go badly for me. So,
well, you don't come in here with both sides.
It's not.
It's like going into a funeral and saying, "Hey, let's have a kegger."
Well, sometimes you should just celebrate the life.
Dana, is it always like this?
You should see when I get going.
All right.
I mean, man, yeah, that was definitely an explosive moment. That man Gutfield just blew up on her. But all right, guys, let's have a bit of a comedic moment. What Kamala Harris's book that just came out. You know what? I'm a nice guy. Make sure you go ahead and buy it. Go ahead and buy Kamala Harris's 107 Days. Bruh.
Kamala Harris, the former vice president of the United States. Recently, she released her new book titled 107 Days, which refers to the length of her failed 2024 presidential campaign. In that book, which I have read and have taken extensive notes, Kamala recalls a moment where she was heckled at a rally at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. I was in the middle of my speech, laying out Trump's direct responsibility for the repeal of Roe, when I heard cries of, "Liar, you're lying." I smiled in the direction of the hecklers. "Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally," I said. "I think you meant to go to the smaller one down the street." The audience roared with laughter. Later, the two juniors would go on Fox and Friends and claim that I had told them they were at the wrong rally after I heard them shout, "Jesus is Lord, Christ is King." That's not true. The C-SPAN video of the moment clearly picks up the cries of "liar" right before I made the quip. So right now, I will play you the unedited clip from C-SPAN.
Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade, and they did as he intended. Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally. No, I think you meant to go to the smaller one down the street.
So Kamala insists that right before she made her witty remark, that she heard these.
Ah, man, good times, good times. I swear to God, those Kamala Harris rallies were just. You know what? I think I converted a lot of guys from the left to the right, just honestly reacting to Kamala Harris's speeches or her rallies. Because trust me, when you hear her talk, and you kind of point it out, and you point it out to everybody, they're like, you know what, Seth, you're right. She don't make sense. You know what? I'm not going to go fully right, but I definitely don't agree with Kamala. And you know what? I've heard a lot of guys come to that side. But hey, I mean, hey, look, I can't all the way convert them to the right, but at least I can steer them away from Kamala and be like, you know what? Maybe we did need a better candidate. And shout out for y'all, the liberals who admitted that. Shout out to you guys.
Audience members say, "Liar, you're lying." Let's play back that portion and you be the judge.
And shout out to my man Monty, says all 5 people in them. I mean, shout out Monty. And also, where you go?
Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally.
Now, did it sound like anyone said, "Liar, you're lying"? Not really. But then she refers to a video that was posted to X by Fox News correspondent Mark Meredith. Another video made by a Fox reporter somewhere in the middle of the auditorium does have the young men proclaiming their faith, although there's no way of telling at what point in my speech. So according to Kamala Harris, there's just no way of telling at what point in the speech Mark Meredith's video came from. So I guess we'll never know. Or we could play the video of Kamala Harris next to the video and audio from the audience.
As he intended.
Jesus is Lord.
Whenever it was, I never heard it, and I was certainly not responding to that. I would never make fun of anyone or say they weren't welcome at my rally for praising God. Guys,
yeah, but you said Pete Buttigieg wasn't I would say what, accepted into your campaign because he was gay? Hilarious. That is hilarious. The fact that Kamala Harris said that is absolutely funny.
Never. Well, until she did, that is. On Fox and Friends, the hosts accepted the students' claims and showed an edited video, but not the C-SPAN footage of where it's clear that I'm responding to cries of liar. So here Kamala is A, calling the protesters liars, B, inferred that Fox News didn't bother to confirm the claims, and C, that they showed you an edited clip, which I will play for you now.
And they did as he intended. Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally.
So yes, what Fox and Friends showed was edited, but it was absolutely not edited out of context. In other words, Kamala Harris is a fucking liar who just got caught in 4K. Anyway, that's it for now. Stay tuned for my new video where I do a deep dive into Kamala Harris's.
I mean, he got a whole lot of sticky notes in there, so apparently he caught a lot of lies. But you know what? Let's go ahead and get into Fox News coverage of it as well. Yeah, apparently every time Kamala Harris puts herself out there, she kind of just shoots the Democratic Party in the foot. I mean, man, that's tough. That's tough, guys. I do feel bad for you guys. When you got candidates like this, man, I mean, to be honest, the Republicans might as well kind of lessen their budget. Like, you know, we need to cut our budget on campaigning because we just need to let Kamala Harris speak and she'll just do all the work for us.
At 5:29 p.m., staff alerted me that the British singer-songwriter Charlie XCX had posted, "Kamala is Brat." Brat was the title of her latest album and identified me with her brand: edgy, imperfect, confident, embracing.
Wow. And she didn't win, huh? That was Kamala Harris terrorizing the eardrums of Americans with the audiobook release of 107 Days. Democrats are said to be privately complaining, calling it a gossip book that isn't helping the party move on.
Hey, what?
But Kamala's media blitz won't be burdened by some critics in her party. And the next stop was Joy Reid's YouTube show.
It struck me in the same way that when I read Prince Harry's book, it struck me. This question of loyalty.
Yeah.
And loyalty that sometimes doesn't feel like it's returned.
I really did not fully embrace the reality of how people felt. And I should have. I will confess to you, I do not have all the answers, Joy.
Yeah.
I mean, part of my reflection is that I don't have all the answers.
A lot of emoting there. Dana, this feels
Obviously.
like a PR stunt. What is she really doing here? What's with the book?
Well, this is a typical book tour. I mean, they have a robust plan and
What
they're
she
getting
want,
out there.
I mean, let's be real. It does seem like you always get a book deal right after you're out of office. I mean, Biden got a book deal. Obama made millions off his book deal, and so did Michelle Obama. And yay, well, shout out Bernie Sanders, them too. It does seem like Dems are, you know what? At least y'all pretty good at writing books, right? Yeah, I mean, you're not good at really running countries or cities, but you're good at writing books.
I guess she wants to have some sort of writing in the history books that says she was a genius, and she wants it on record that in her mind this was the closest election in presidential history. Whatever, right. I don't know. I'm sure there's probably some statistic out there that helps her show that. But this is a situation where every nugget is less interesting than the one before, and I hope she got a healthy advance because I don't think it propels her to run again. I don't think it propels her to like sit on a bunch of boards unless they're like mercy boards. She'll be on the mercy board for some people.
Okay.
She's a flash in the pan. She is being rude to everybody that helped her. There's no who is she helping? Who is she thinking of for 2028?
But all right, though, we'll go ahead and leave Kamala Harris alone. But it is funny that she dropped the book and everybody's like grilling her on it, which is hilarious because every time she made a speech, everybody was grilling her on it. But all right, guys, let's get into Scott Bessent's interview on Fox News. Well, Fox Business.
Welcome back. Good Wednesday morning, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. I'm Maria Bartiromo, and I hope you're having a good morning. It is Wednesday, September 24th. It is just before 8 a.m. on the East Coast. President Trump delivering a fiery speech yesterday at the 80th United Nations General Assembly. He called out world leaders right to their faces over their failures.
I mean, yeah, call them out right to their faces and their broken escalators and teleprompter, which was hilarious. Honestly, I thought that was one of the main reasons why he just went out there and just completely snapped on everybody. And you know what was so funny? While this man was snapping on everybody, bro, the camera would go and show the country he was talking about. I'm like, bro, whoever the cameraman was, my man, you are funny. I'm going to give it to you on that.
In their own countries. He touted America's success, and he told you the impact of wide open borders. Watch.
We are rapidly reversing the economic calamity we inherited from the previous administration. Energy costs are down. Gasoline prices are down. Grocery prices are down. Mortgage rates are down. And inflation has been defeated. The only thing that's up is the stock market, which just hit a record high. Growth is surging. Manufacturing is booming. Workers' wages are rising at the fastest pace in more than 60 years. In my first term, I built the greatest economy in the history of the world, but this time it's actually much bigger and even better.
President Trump, meanwhile, canceled his planned meetings with Democrats, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. They were supposed to meet on Thursday, but he's calling their demands to avert a government shutdown unserious and ridiculous. He left the door open for future negotiations, however. Meanwhile, the Treasury and the IRS outlining this week which workers could qualify for the no tax on tips deduction in President Trump's big, beautiful bill. Joining me now to talk all about that is the U.S. Treasury Secretary of this great nation, Scott Bessent. Mr. Secretary, it's great to see you.
Maria, always good to be with you.
Thank you so much for joining us. You have so much on your plate. And first, I want to thank you for all that you're doing, Secretary. Thank you.
Well, Maria, it's all the president. It's easy to follow his lead, and it's so exciting to implement the policies the American people elected him for. The American people elected him for change, and he is doing it every day. Can you believe it's just been 8 or 9 months, the amount that he's gotten done?
No, I cannot believe it's only 8 months. Tell me about that speech yesterday at the UN. What was your biggest takeaway of President Trump calling out others on that stage?
Well, President Trump, as you know, Maria, is all about solutions. Why have we...
Honestly, one of my biggest takeaways was he pretty much hopped down their neck on immigration, and he kind of hopping down their neck on the whole, reusable energy initiative that they kind of tax their people for. And also bringing up the point of how, well, you're not really making money on it. You're kind of just making your people subsidize it. And it's kind of skyrocketed y'all energy prices, and your people suffer from that. And then guess what? You also make them suffer by having weak borders and you letting in a whole bunch of immigrants. And here's the thing. I mean, a lot of countries in Europe, especially the UK, they don't got an illegal immigration problem like we do. They have a legal immigration problem, and it's due to poor vetting.
Accepted that things don't work. He asked, why is the federal government not delivering for people? Why are our cities unsafe? So he came to New York, and he has great respect for the United Nations, but he called them out for it not working. The president has done 7 peace deals, and the UN never got in contact with him. How does that work? He called out the rest of the world and our allies for their failures, whether it's on immigration, on energy, on their economies, and he excoriated them. But then he said, "This is American leadership come with us. If you want to, we will lead.
Yeah.
And, Maria, this is what American leadership looks like. And I think people missed it for 4 years, whether in the U.S. or on the world stage. And the U.S. is back.
A lot of common sense there on policy. All right. So Jay Powell yesterday signaled that the Federal Reserve is going to move slowly on interest rates. He also said the stock market was high. I don't know why he said that and why he would wade into that territory. But what is your thought about the macro story right now? I want to get your take on where we are with regard to economic growth and what's ahead.
Clearly, the Federal Reserve has been too high for too long, and we're going into an easing cycle here. And I'm not sure why Chair Powell has backed up a bit here, because, as we can see, we inherited a mess, and it's unclear now. We've had almost 2 million downward revisions in the jobs number. There was almost no private job creation in the Biden administration, and with these revisions, we know that something was wrong beneath the hood, and now we could see.
Yeah, I mean, when the job numbers came out, they're about, what was it, 911,000 jobs revised in 2024. What was it? I think it was of February of 2024 all the way out to March of 2025. Bro, 911,000 job revisions. And that's why one of the reasons why that lady lost her job. Because, Bureau of Labor Statistics commissioner, you should be able to run a better system and not just keep running the old one as if it's giving accurate numbers. And then when everybody asks you why are the numbers so low, you're pretty much just saying, well, they're turning in the surveys late. Yeah, well, they've been doing that for about, 20, 30 years. And the rate of them turning it in has been going downwards. And you haven't changed up the way you guys ask these questions or send out these surveys. I mean, that deserves a firing.
In terms of the housing market that affects consumers, working Americans, rates are too restrictive. They need to come down. And I think we will go into a cycle. And, I'm a bit surprised that the chair hasn't signaled that we have a destination before the end of the year of at least 100 to 150 basis points. And I will add, President Trump's pick for the Federal Reserve Board, Stephen Myron, Stephen has said more in a week than the Biden administration appointees have said during their entire tenure.
Yeah.
And
he wanted a 50 basis point cut. Jay Powell cut 25 basis points. Stephen Myron wanted 50.
Well, these meetings are supposed to be a discussion. You're supposed to go into them with an open mind. And, I think not unlike the UN, we've seen a lot of mistakes, a lot of rigidities. And, it's good to get some new blood in there.
Who would be your best pick for chairman of the Fed at this point?
Maria, I'm interviewing 11 candidates. We've got a couple who have surprised me in the strength of their candidacy during the interviews.
Okay.
And
who surprised you?
I'm sorry. I'm not going to talk specifics.
So you don't want to break that news right now?
Maria, if I could, I would, because you're my favorite. But I'm going to be interviewing more candidates this week. We respected the Fed's quiet period, and we didn't interview any sitting Federal Reserve board members or presidents. So there's going to be a lot of interviews next week. I think the first round will be done for first week of October. Then we'll start another round, and I look forward to being able to discuss it with President Trump, present him with 3 or 4 very strong candidates.
Do you think, given what we've seen in the labor market for the last 3 months, we've seen this weakening in the last 3 months. I don't know if you believe the numbers or not at this point, but do you think that tiptoes into recession at some point?
I am less concerned about a recession. I'm concerned about the distributional aspects that we've got going here. I'm concerned that working America.
Yeah, because the GDP is growing. That's really not a problem. Like, our GDP is growing, but the real problem is that, the jobs number and, inflation is kind of heading towards that 3% area. So the real problem is if we can cut the rate, we can kind of solve 2 of those problems. Well, cutting the rate would at least solve the job problem because it would increase investment and companies would be more willing to hire.
Americans are getting hit harder just because of the high rates. I'm concerned that a lot of the housing affordability crisis is on the mortgage side. So, I am very concerned, and I believe that we do need rate relief. We need to get at least back to neutral.
Isn't it odd that when you talk about lower rates and the Fed expected to cut another time, at least once more, that rates go up? I mean, do you think it's a certainty that as the Fed lowers rates, that you're actually going to see a real impact on, for example, mortgage rates?
I do believe that we are seeing. We'll see a substantial drop in inflation. I think that the housing numbers are done through imputed rent, that we're going to see, they run on about a 6-month lag. Everything that President Trump is doing in terms of deregulation, which I think is the underrated, the third leg of his economic policies, that's all disinflationary, and we'll see what happens with this AI boom. Back when the railroads came in, we had this wonderful inflationary growth. At the end of the century, we had the same thing in the 1990s, and everyone asked me, what am I looking for when I interview potential Federal Reserve chairs? And it's just someone with an open mind. Someone with an open mind who's not looking in the rearview mirror, who's looking forward, who thinks maybe this could be like the 90s, where we saw the office electronics came in, we saw the internet boom. So could the AI boom be like that? Could we have a disinflationary period? Is our star, if it exists, going to move up or down? What's Nehru? So I want somebody who's looking forward, not backward.
I mean, it's such an interesting scenario to look at AI, because on the one hand, you know that AI is going to replace some jobs, right? I mean, obviously. But on the other hand, we didn't know we needed coders 20 years ago. We didn't know we needed all these engineers. So other jobs, even in energy, will be created. But do you have a plan for those jobs that will go away as a result of artificial intelligence?
Maria, we don't. We're working on it now. We actually have what I call an AI czar at Treasury, and she is developing a plan, a roadmap that can help us with the U.S. economy. I'll be talking about that in speeches this fall. And we don't know which way it's going to go. And again, I think we got to have an open mind. But one of the things, as you know better than anyone, President Trump's trying to bring back precision manufacturing jobs to the U.S., this blue collar boom that we're going to see. And those jobs aren't going to be taken by AI.
Which Apple is following along with, promising end-to-end manufacturing in the United States within the coming years, of course. They've already pledged that they will slowly be moving the manufacturing of the iPhone here. But right now we are manufacturing the glass for the iPhone.
I love.
Well, I believe the Apple Watches, the glass for the Apple Watches.
President Trump is doing with the supply chains. It is so important. And I understand this is national security. We're all wondering if there's sort of an outlier out there that is going to turn things around. And I want to get your take on Argentina, because, Mr. Secretary, Argentina's peso sliding, politics and capital outflows rattling investors there. Javier Milei, I guess, has lost the confidence of investors. They're pulling their money out of Argentina. They're fearful that he will scrap his defense of the peso. You say all options are on the table, from swap lines to direct currency support. What's the plan in terms of supporting Argentina? Is there one?
The plan is, as long as President Milei continues with his strong economic policies to help him, to bridge him to the election, I call this the screens moving to the streets. We are not going to let a disequilibrium in the market cause his a backup in his substantial economic reforms. I don't think the market has lost confidence in him. I think the market is looking in the rearview mirror and is looking at decades, if not a century, of terrible Argentinian mismanagement. And people are concerned. People are skittish. It's very hard to believe that it is different this time. But I believe with President Milei, it is. It is.
The president is also pledging strong backing. He's calling for Javier Milei's reforms critical for that stability that you're talking about. But Senator Warren, Elizabeth Warren, says that this is a taxpayer-funded bailout and is more about politics than U.S. interests. What do you want to say to Elizabeth Warren here?
Well, I tweeted it out yesterday. Senator Warren and her protege, Mr. Mondami, who's running for mayor of New York, they are American Peronists. They want to do to the U.S. economy what the Perones, the General and Evita did to the U.S. They want to take control. So, and I guarantee you, and there are not a lot of things in life that are sure, that New York City will be coming to the federal government for a bailout if the Mandami plans are implemented.
And are you going to give him that bailout?
It will be the same thing that Gerald Ford said. Drop dead.
Drop dead.
Damn.
Look, oh my God. I mean, when you're talking about this mayoral race, this is the capital of, the capital of capitalism, right? I mean, New York's mayor race matters, right, for the country.
All right, guys. I actually do got to head out. I do got to knock out something early in the morning, but don't worry. I'll be back later on in the afternoon. And this is Set with Set Media, and I will go ahead and catch you guys on the next one. Man, appreciate the support. I'm going to go ahead and exit out with some jazz. And make sure you guys double tap that screen and like the video. This is Set with Set Media, guys, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.